day 2 session, basically we are planning to have some, new topics like where we have two things which we can discuss today. The first one is we can have a discussion on some services which is common in AWS and Azure. Okay, some AWS and Azure common service. I'll show you the comparison and everything. So you will be able to understand how much similar these basically these platforms are. So we will have a comparison with some services on AWS and Azure. Then we will basically go to the cloud career track. Okay, like for example, how basically we can go for a cloud certification, or basically how can we pursue a career in cloud computing. What are the factors we have to consider? What are things you have to learn? Can you learn completely from a trainer or a location? What are things you have to learn extra? What are things you have to subscribe for? What are things you have to watch out for in the coming days? So basically we'll discuss all these things, and after that we can have a QA session completely, which I can clear your doubts also. So any doubts regarding my personal batch, we can take it offline, but anything else, if you have any any queries regarding the track or like certifications or cloud platform or anything, if you have, you can just ping me, no problem. Okay, so that's a team. So let's start now. So before I start, we have some queries I got from some yesterday's topics. So see this, is IaaS and PaaS and SaaS for both public and private clouds? Okay, that is the first question I got. So basically this is the first question. Do we have this IaaS and PaaS and SaaS for both public and private clouds? If you say the word public cloud or on-premises private cloud or off-premises private cloud or any platform, okay, if you basically go for public cloud or private cloud or on-premises private cloud or hybrid cloud or any platform, we have this difference. We have a IaaS service, we have a PaaS service, and we have a SaaS service. But there is one more difference, team. Let's say for example, you are basically going for an on-premises solution. Okay, you're going for an on-premises solution, or let's say you're going for an on-premises cloud platform. In this case, do we have any third-party cloud service providers involved? No, right? We basically don't have any kind of, or we basically don't have any cloud service providers involved. So when we say the word on-premises cloud, even if we have IaaS and PaaS and SaaS, the responsibility is completely with you only. There is no cloud service provider. You are the cloud service provider and you are the consumer. So basically we have this responsibility common for both the or for all the side, like for CSP side and basically for the customer, as both the people are same in this case. In the case of on-premises, there is no difference, except for that for every other cloud platform like public cloud or off-premises private cloud or hybrid cloud or community cloud, we have this difference called as IaaS and PaaS and SaaS. Okay, that's it. That's the first question. Hope it's clear for all of you. The next question is, so basically the difference between public cloud and private cloud off-premises. Nothing, bro. Public cloud means, let's say for example, I have a cloud service provider. Okay, I have a cloud service provider. See, I'll tell you one more thing which I felt personally. Okay, so some years, see, when I say, I'll give an example. So basically what happens is, some years back, you have still also you can see that when you basically refer to some hardware textbook, okay, when you refer to some hardware textbooks, they will tell you that we have two types of cache memory, internal cache and external cache. Like we have a cache memory inside the processor, we have a cache memory outside the processor. But that definition is not valid now. Still students are studying, but that definition is not valid now. Basically all the cache is inside it. Why? Because after all these years, the technology has changed a lot. Like the same way, when all these things started, okay, when you say the word public cloud, so it can be with the third party. Basically it is a third party. Okay, the next point you have to, basically we have a third party. The next point we have is basically usually we don't have a location preference. The third thing is basically even if I have a location preference, the third thing is we have a multi-tenancy with a lesser or with a higher security risk. So like this, we have a lot of factors. But now what happens is we have the public cloud providers called as Amazon, Azure, Google, etc., providing you private off-premises services and other services, which is basically you can prefer to the location, you can basically prefer to the encryption, you can basically prefer to all these factors. So when you go to a cloud service provider, they provide you both the public cloud services and the private cloud services. But if you take the services specifically, Like let's say if you take a service called as Google Drive or Gmail, example I'm giving, if you take a service called as Google Drive or Gmail, it's a completely the traditional way of public cloud. That means that there is no location reference, there is not much control, there is no security measures which we can go in depth. So basically we can call it as a complete public cloud service. But at the same time, I'll give an example. We will say something called as Azure containers, or let's say I can say that Azure blobs. So this is basically something which we call as AWS S3 in AWS. Okay. So this is basically located inside a VPC, or let's say VNet, a secure network. So it's basically a part of private cloud. Okay. So the public cloud providers nowadays are basically offering all the services which can be a part of let's say public cloud or let's say private cloud also. But people basically more prefer services which they want to have a location preference, they have more flexibility, they have more control, the services which they have more SLA. Okay, that's it. Is it clear for all of you? Any queries? This board is clear? Okay, and team, you can ask your queries also. Do you have any other queries, team? Any other queries you have till now from the topics we discussed? Feel free to ask. Yeah, please tell me. Any queries? Pankaj bro, tell me. Okay, no problem. Cool, perfect. So like this team, see, there is one more thing which I felt personally. Okay, so basically what happens is this is basically out of the box, but still I am telling you that. So basically, when people say that they have a public cloud platform, they basically go for a private cloud provider. The difference is actually the gap is actually fading off. Why? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, because see, when I go to a service, when I go to a public cloud service provider, almost all the services they are providing is giving you a location preference. Almost all the services they are providing you more value, like more control, more flexibility and all. So we cannot differentiate some services whether it's public cloud service or private cloud service. So that's why we call them as public cloud providers, and the services which we create inside a VPC or VNet is called as private cloud. That's all, nothing more. Okay. So yeah, and this question we'll answer once we discuss this cloud career track. Okay, this particular career track I'll discuss, and I'll tell you why I want to discuss this in detail. Okay, I'll tell you why I want to discuss in detail. Most people, what happens is basically when they want to join a certification training, or let's say they want to basically go for a certification track, I have seen that most people make the mistake by going to a lot of courses. Like for example, you basically go to a training provider, or let's say you go to Udemy or any kind of platforms, you buy all the courses, or let's say you Google it, you buy all the courses, you try to study everything. By the end, you end up in some loop. Okay, there's no point of going to all the courses or everything, but you have to focus on a specific area and you have to be a master in it. Like for example, and just before I start this, I want to tell you one more thing, team. You can also post your queries as well on the same thing. So basically, correct me if I'm wrong. So basically what happens is people ask me, Krish, which is the platform which I can get a job, or which is the platform which I can get more value in my career. I say that all the platforms will give you the value. Like for example, let's say if you are good in Microsoft Excel, good in Excel means you must have a Microsoft Excel certification. You must be ninja in that. If you're good in PowerPoint, if you're good in office automation, if you're good in basically cloud computing, if you're good in programming. So like for example, let's say some years back I got a requirement for C and C++. Okay. Basically, when I just announced that I have a requirement for C and C++ in a leading MNC, people ask me, Krish, it's a very basic thing. Anybody can do it. But when I posted the requirements, almost some 90% of the people cancel or just say they don't want to get the job for. Why? Because basically it was too complicated for them. Why? Because whatever things you're learning, any platform will give you value 100%, I'm sure. If you learn any technology, okay, any technology same, it can basically give you more value. Okay, so but yes, cloud security remains same. Not exactly. Yes, up to an extent. Basically, the cloud security is always same, but the concept is always same. But the services provided, the way they are providing the services, how much effective it is, it all matters. I'll give an example. So there is a huge difference between AWS Directory Service and Azure Active Directory. There is a huge difference between AWS Identity Access Management and Azure AD. So both are almost same services, but they are giving you different level of features. But if you know the concept, you can learn this, or you can basically do all things very effectively. Clear? Don't worry, we'll discuss all that. Okay, perfect. I'll just give an overview of all the services. So basically my point here is basically when you're looking for a career track, okay, so anything we can give you value, like for example, okay, I want to learn security, I want to learn pen testing, I want to basically learn cloud auditing, I want to learn cloud security. So basically everything can give you value if the things you're studying is in the proper track. Like for example, I have a company, I have a business. If you can meet my business requirements, you're in for the profile, that's all, nothing more. Like for example, let's say I have seen that a lot of companies are posting different job profiles. See, I'll show you an example for the job profiles in cloud security. This is what I got some 1 or 2 months back from the leading like this Naukri or something like that. I'll show you that. See how much it is basically the profiles. Just give me a second. See, this is an example for the thing I just got. I didn't take it from anywhere else, just from the common job sites. See this? These things are just from a single search. I am searching that I want to have a cloud security. So what happens? See this? All these are the roles I got from 1 or 2 websites. Just 1 or 2 websites. Okay. See, let's say for example, if I basically go for a cloud security specialist, I have a job requirement. JD is there. So basically, I have to go through all that. See how can I basically get into a profile? I can get into a profile. Okay. And it's not about getting into a profile or basically start working on something. It's something which what we are planning here, or basically what we have to do is to get a strategy where you can continuously learn and to upfront your career. Okay, that's the whole thing. And then queries team, you agree with me, right? Team, do you agree with me on this career thing I said? Anything else you want to add with this, or let's say you want to correct me on this something? Right. See, the whole thing is like this, team. So what happens is, this is what I felt in my, I just basically have some 17 plus years experience. So basically in my experience, this is what I felt. Because if basically I moved to cloud some years back, let's say some 10, 11 years back, I moved to cloud, and I was a Linux guy for a long time, a Linux security guy. I basically moved to cloud. So I have to plan my career accordingly. So I was interested in the subject. I was trying to learn in a particular focus. It gives value. The same way for everything. Okay, that's it. And that doesn't mean that you don't have to learn anything else. I'll give an example. See, basically I am working as a cloud security architect. Okay, I basically work as a cloud security architect for a long time for different companies worldwide. So basically what happens is, yes, Akash, we have a lot of job roles. We'll discuss that. Okay, so basically when I say the word cloud security, just remind me, Akash, on this. I'll discuss about the experience level also, don't worry. So basically, when I work as a cloud security architect, okay, basically when I work as a cloud security architect, what I felt is, what all things I will know. I have to know something called as Devops. I have to know something called as security. I have to know something called as auditing. I have to know something called as artificial intelligence. I have to know something called as IoT. This basically, I had some 3 to 4 projects where I have to do this thing for the company. I have to learn this. So basically for IoT. So like this, I have to know, I have to know JSON. I have to know Linux a lot, basically. I have to know networking. So basically, we have to have a lot of skills. But it's not like it's too hectic for you to basically learn all this. It's very simple. You must have some knowledge in this. You can get the knowledge. I'll tell you how to get this. There's no point you can go for all the courses and do everything. But you can learn by yourself also. Okay, I'll tell you how to do that. So now we'll basically start with the our session. And in this, basically what we are planning is, okay, so we have 2 things here. The first thing is, basically I want to give you some difference or comparison with the services in cloud platform. Basically, like for example, AWS and Azure. So when you basically go to AWS Azure, you will find a lot of services very common, very similar. I'll give an example. Let's say, let me just open your console for you. Please wait. Okay. So as you can see here, I'm currently in my AWS console. Okay, I'll tell you some primary difference. Okay, when you compare with AWS and Azure, okay, so people ask me, Krish, by learning one platform, can I learn other platform by myself? I 100% say that if you're good in one platform, definitely if you're good in one platform, especially AWS, basically, I tell you. So if you're good in one platform, the other platform you can learn 100% for sure by yourself. But at the same time, you have to learn a little more depth in that also. Like for example, let's say you have to take some effort. Like for example, some concept may be different, having difference. Like for example, yesterday I told you, we have a concept called as regions. We have a concept called as availability zones. We have a concept called, so basically this concept is there for AWS and Azure. It's 100% similar. The difference is in Azure, we have something called as geographies, which is not there in AWS, except that everything else is the same. Okay, like the same way, a few things will change. Okay, let me show you an example here. Let's say now I have a service. So basically, these are the very common services in AWS and Azure. The first one is when you talk about the services in Azure or AWS, these are the very common, everybody use services. All the people are using the services. The first one is we have something called as compute services. Compute services means basically they provide you the computing capabilities. Like for example, they will give you some servers or storage or those kind of things. And the second type is they will basically have the storage services. Then third thing is basically you have something called as database services. And the fourth thing you have something called as monitoring and logging. Then the fifth thing is data, or let's say the networking. Then we have security and a lot of things like that. So basically, I'll give you a comparison of these services in different platforms. Okay, that's it. And if you have any queries also, you can feel free to ping me, no problem. Okay, you can unmute and ask. If I missed your chat also, you can unmute and ask. Okay, that's it. So the first one. Now you can see that currently I'm in my AWS console. So basically, when you go to AWS, basically people ask me this, Krish, why AWS is a tool leader? I'll tell you why. Basically, these services, see, especially this Amazon EC2, Amazon S3, Amazon Lambda, Amazon, let's say Elastic Beanstalk, or let's say AWS CloudWatch, or basically a few service identity access management, a few services like this is basically, I would say, outstanding. You will not be able to get these kind of quality services with any other cloud service provider. So like this, they have some key services. Let me show you an example. One of the most commonly used or one of the very common cloud service or basically the IaaS service we can say in AWS is basically EC2. If you have heard the name called as AWS, you will definitely hear the name called as EC2 and S3. So basically EC2 is something which we will discuss for the first, just for the basics. So definitely you can see it here. I have a easy to console here. Let me remove my server. I have one server already running. Let me remove it. Actions. I'm just removing a server. Let's just leave it. Okay. Okay. So basically, I'll give you some keywords you have to remember in this particular service. Okay. Nothing, bro. It's basically from the experience only. Like for example, I know this is basically a service. It's IaaS from the way they are providing the service, like the same way. Okay, that's it. So you can show that. See this. Let's say this is my AWS EC2. Okay, AWS EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. And with this, you can send a message to all of us. Like it's not personally to me. You can send to all of us, so everybody can see your query. Okay. So cool. Perfect. So basically, what happens is, see this. Currently, I have this console here. So a few words you have to remember here. So in EC2, these are the few words you have to remember for the first time. As a beginner, these are the few words you have to remember in Amazon EC2. So the first word you have to remember in EC2 is, so EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. So these are the words you have to remember in EC2. The first one is instances. Second is AMI. Third is basically, what do you say? Snapshots. Or let's say fourth one is tags. Fifth one is like security groups. Sixth one is like VPC. A few words like this you have to remember this. Okay. Let's say the first word. So basically, when I say the word, I have an instance. Okay, when I say the word, I have a server. I'm just telling the word call as I have a server. This is my server. Okay, don't forget this is my server. And I'm just going a bit fast because it's a complete bootcamp. We have to cover a lot. So basically, you can see that this thing I have is a server here. Okay, so for a server, we have two parts, right? What are the two parts we have for a server team? Tell me. For a server, we have two things. Exactly. Yeah. Let's make it a server. Two things for a server in our own premise. We have a hardware part and we have a software, right? Yeah, definitely. Remember NCP? Yeah, we have a hardware part and we have a software part. Like for example, we have a hardware configuration which contains the CPU, memory, and storage, etc. And we have a software configuration which contains the operating system, the application software, and all, right? So basically, we have a hardware and we have a software. So hardware, when we say the word hardware, okay, when we say the word hardware, so what all things will come inside? CPU, memory, storage, or let's say network capacity. So basically all these things will come. So the hardware part of a VM you're going to create in AWS is basically what you call as instance, in simple words. Basically when you go for the definition, they will confuse you on this, but this is what and the real time. So when you say the word instance, understand that I'm talking about the hardware part. So from now on, basically when I say the word instance, you have to understand that I'm talking about a VM hardware, okay, which is a combination of different hardware. Like for example, let's say this, I basically go to AWS console here, I click on launch instance. So I'm just going to select a hardware here. See this, we have a lot of hardware configurations, okay. So see this, like for example, starting from a single core CPU to 5 KB RAM to 2 dual core CPU to 4 GB RAM. So like this, we have different predefined set of hardware configurations which can go up to 24 TB of RAM. See this. You can see that I have a 96 core CPU which is having a 384 GB RAM. Just think of it. Just go through the stream. Okay. So basically we have a 96 core. Yeah, we have SSD storage also. Like this, we have a lot of things. We have network capacity. This 25 Gbps network capacity. So like this, it can go up to 24 TB RAM, not GB. 24 TB RAM. It can go. See this. It goes again higher and higher. See this. We have a different capacity for different use cases. And basically, like for example, if you basically want to go through all of this, okay, it's like for different requirements. So basically, we have a lot of hardware configurations. So as for now, you understand that instances are the hardware configurations. Okay. So basically, if you have an instance, that means that it's a VM I'm talking about. It's a hardware configuration I'm talking about. So what is the next one? We have a software part. So AMI is basically what you call as a software part. Like for example, let's say I have an AMI which we basically call as the Amazon machine image. The full form is Amazon machine image. Okay. So basically when I talk about the Amazon machine image, AMI, okay, when I say the word AMI, what happens is AMI is a software template which they provide. So you can ask me one question, Chris, you told me they will not provide you any kind of OS or software configuration. Yes, I 100% agree. The responsibility of the operating system and any kind of software and everything is basically with you only. But at the same time, when you want to create an instance, you have to choose a template for primary installation. That template which you create is called as AMI. That's all. They have a lot more things. I'm just giving an idea. So basically, see this. I'm trying to start an instance here. Okay, I'm trying to start an instance here. Now you know what is instance. I click on instance. The first thing they will ask me is basically the AMI. See this. I have a Red Hat Enterprise AMI. I have a SUSE Linux AMI. I have a Ubuntu Linux AMI. I have a Windows Server AMI. See, I have Windows Server 2016 AMI. So basically, I have a lot of AMIs which is pre-provided by AWS. I have a Kali Linux AMI. I have a Nessus AMI. I have a open. So basically, I have different types of predefined set of AMIs. I'll show you a demo on this. Okay. So AMI is the software part. Yes, it's IR service. But that they provide you the AMI doesn't mean that they have a responsibility. 100% from the operating system onwards, the software side, the responsibility is with the consumer only. So instance is basically, I can say it as something called as a hardware part. And basically AMI is something which you basically can say as a software part. Okay, so instance is basically a hardware part which contains the hardware configuration or different configurations of hardware, and AMI is something which is basically a software part which contains the different kind of operating system or some predefined set of softwares also. Okay, let's begin with creating an instance team. Okay, let's create an instance. So listen to see this carefully, team. I'm going to create an instance. The same thing you have to tell me how to do it on Azure. Okay, I want you all of you to tell me how we can do it in Azure. Those people who are having Azure experience can sit idle. Others can basically guide me on this. Okay, so I'm going to create an instance here. So I click on launch instance. It's okay. It's because just I have to refresh the page and nothing more. See, I am selecting a Windows Server AMI here. See this? I have a Windows Server AMI. See this? I am selecting the Windows Server 2019. Okay, so I click on select here. So here they will ask me to which configuration I want. I basically don't want to have the higher configuration. Let's take a very small one, a single core CPU and 1 GB RAM. That's more than enough for me. I select this configuration here. I click on next, configure instance details. Okay, so here I can set the VPC, or basically the virtual private network. I can keep it by default. I'm not doing anything here. I click on storage here. So when I click on storage here, you can see that they will ask me to get a storage. So basically the storage which I'm going to use now is technically called as EBS volume. We can discuss it later. So basically I can create a storage, okay, up to 5 TB. Okay, I can create. Okay, so up to 16 TB I can create. As for now, I am creating just a 30 GB small volume. I don't want to basically have much. And if I want, I can choose between a hard disk and SSD. See this? I can choose between a hard disk and SSD. So I'm selecting an SSD here so that I can get the performance here. I basically click on next. So what is the use of a tag? Team, why do you want to have price tag and all in the when you go to some shops and everything? Why do you want to have price tags? What is the use of a tag, team? Tell me. Why do you tag something in your office or basically in your like jewelries thing location?
Asset management.
Asset management. That's the word I want. Asset management. Yes, to identify things. Yeah, for identification, for managing the assets effectively. How it happens? I'll tell you how it happens. Let's say I have, this is what I always suffer basically. I have more than 100 instances in production in a single account. So let's say out of this 100 instances, I may have some 10 production servers. 10 servers belong to development. 10 servers. Yeah, 10 servers belong to some kind of, operations or something like that, build server, something like that. So out of these 10 servers in production, 10 servers in development, I need to have some 5 servers for a team 1, 5 servers for team 2, 5 servers, or let's say like this. Basically what happens, I need to have multiple servers to be identified for multiple people. So in that case, if I don't have proper tags, how can I search for them effectively? Let's say, for example, if I want to basically search for a server here, see this? I want to have a server which is basically having production. So what happens? So they will basically show me all the servers running here, which is having the tag called as production. They basically see something called as a team called as, okay, operations team. What happens? Basically, they will show me the servers which is basically belonging to the operations team. So it will be easy for me to sort out things, okay, for organizing things, for effective asset management, for identifying the assets effectively. So as for now, I'm not selecting anything. So let's select this thing here. But basically, even when somebody teaches you on the service also, I have seen that most people will ignore this thing called as tags. But believe me, when you work in the industry, when you basically work in cloud computing, this is something which is very critical in Azure and AWS. I have suffered a lot when I started in this journey in cloud computing, just because I was not aware of this tags importance that time. Because it can help you a lot basically. In a lot of cases, it can help you a lot. Like they can give you more effective value. They can give you more easy management everything. Okay. So the next one is we have a word called as security group. Okay, Krish, what is a security group? It's very simple. So team, What is a firewall, team? What is a firewall? Tell me, what is a firewall? Is it an antivirus? What's the purpose of a firewall? Let's say I can say this is normal firewall, L3 firewall. Okay. Okay. So can I, when I plug in a pen drive to my computer, can my firewall scan my pen drive and basically scan for threats and vulnerabilities? Then what is the purpose? Make it a capsule.
You check the source and the target, destination, and port. That's it.
Of what? Of what?
Network.
Flow of traffic.
Network traffic, right? So it can basically filter the incoming and outgoing traffic. In my network, it can basically filter out the incoming and outgoing traffic in my network based on the rules, or basically we can call as ACLs I have given. So based on the rules I have given, if you don't give proper rules, then it's like just having a dummy there. There's no use for that. If you basically give effective rules for filtering, they can allow the traffic based on IP address, port protocol, port number, those kind of things. Okay, that's what happens. Let me show you an example here. Let's say you can see that we have a word called a security. Understand that for every instance you're creating, okay, for every instance you're creating, I repeat, for every instance you're creating, there is something called as a security group. Okay, there is something called a security group, which is the firewall configuration. Instead of having a hardware firewall, we have a firewall configuration. We call it as a logical firewall configuration for an instance, which is called a security group. Let's see this. Now what happens is, you can see that this particular firewall configuration here, okay, this particular firewall configuration which I am creating here is allowing RDP. Why it is allowing RDP? Because it's a Windows machine. So basically, if I say Linux machine, what will it allow instead of RDP? SSH. Okay.
SSH.
Exactly the same thing. Now basically it's RDP. So you can add more rules. If I want to have HTTP, basically they can allow HTTP. See, firewall is basically for filtering network traffic. Antivirus or anti-malware software is basically to filter the malicious things in your computer. That's all. It's having different functions, and now it's basically combined together in different cases. We'll discuss it offline, team. Akash, no problem. We can ping me. If there's any queries, you can ping me, no problem. Okay. Cool. Perfect. See this, team. You can basically go for I'm having an RDP here, right? So what I'll do here is I'm selecting RDP by default. Let's do one thing. Let's keep it by default. Or if I want, I can add more rules also. If I want, I can basically add HTTP or anything else. Okay. So now I'm basically adding HTTP also. See, I'm adding HTTP also. Or let's say, let's do it later. Okay. I click on review and launch. So what happens is now I'm going to launch an instance as we discussed. See this. I'm going to launch a live VM. So you have to have a key pair authentication here. If you want to basically work on this AWS, it's mandatory that you have a key pair authentication, but in Azure, it's not mandatory. In AWS, if you basically want to have, you have a key pair authentication, it's mandatory. As for now, I'm creating a key pair, KP-SAM, just a name. Okay, I'm just giving a key pair. Key pair is just a password, like instead of password authentication, we can have a key pair authentication. That's all. Yeah, done. Launch instances, perfect. See, now what happens is, now I am deploying a VM. See this, now I am deploying a VM, or in AWS terms, we call it instances. Or let's give it a tag here so that I can give, okay. Let's say production server 01. I'm just giving a name for easy identification. So team, it will take some time. It will take 3 to 4 minutes to get active. So by the time, can you please guide me how to do the same thing in Azure? So basically in Azure, instead of we call it as EC2, we call it as VMs. So those people who is good in Azure, don't tell the answer. So team, now you know how to deploy this in AWS. Can you guide me how we can do it in Azure? So I'll take the service here. So basically I go to all services. I'm sure you can do this. I basically go to compute service. I select virtual machine. Okay. Yes, we'll discuss that. We're basically going to discuss that. Okay. Yeah. So now what happens? Tell me, team, how I can basically start a VM, or Okay, what I have to click? Tell me. Guide me step by step from this console. You can do it by yourself. Tell me.
Add.
Okay, I click on add here. Azure people don't say answer. Those people who don't know Azure can say. Okay, it will take some time. It's not like AWS. The console can have a small delay, but it's okay. It's a part of Azure. Delay is a part of Azure. It's okay. But still, it will work very effectively like AWS. Just give me a second. It's currently starting. See this, the process starting. It may take some time for some time in my account. So let's do one thing while we are doing this. Okay, while we are doing this thing, let's write down those words you get confused. Okay, and I will discuss that. So now you know how to create a server in AWS very effectively. But the same way I wanted to tell me how to work in Azure. Just give me a second. Why it is taking some time? Let's wait for some time. It's okay. It may take some time. It's okay because it's a part of Azure. Sometimes it can be very fast. Sometimes it can be very slow. It's okay. Select once again. There is a delay I'm feeling always. Because why? Because basically Azure people focus more on some specific services which is giving you more value. Okay. Maybe it will take some time. Let's wait. My console is having the problem. Sorry for that. But I'll later the very ones. Wait, take some time. Okay, let's wait. By the time, let's go to this and do the thing operation. So team, you can see that here what happens is, see this, we have a server here. It's showing running. Even if it's showing running, okay. Yeah, I'll tell you, Pankaj. It basically, I am an MCT. Basically, I have a MCT. So I have a free Azure account which is having 10,000 rupees credit every month. I can use services worth rupees 10,000 every month free of cost. Like this, you'll also get credits. Like it's very simple to get that. Please wait, team. It'll start up. So once you create a VM in AWS, okay, once you create a VM in AWS, you have to wait for some time. Like basically, what happens is once you create a VM in Azure, it will basically take some time. Time means like it can be basically 3 to 4 minutes. How do you know if the VM is ready or not? In the case of Windows, you right-click this VM. You click on get Windows password. See this? You right-click the VM, you get Windows password. See, now it's ready. If it's not ready, you will see a message that password is not ready. Now what I'm going to do is they want me to give the key pair. So the key we created, right? So basically I go to browse here. I click on downloads. I select the key file which I downloaded now. See this? Decrypt password. So I got the password. For my instance, I got the password and username. See this? Username and password I got. So how can I basically connect? I right click. I click on connect here. I click on download remote desktop file. It's very simple. I click on open. So basically they will ask me to connect. It's very simple. I click on connect here. So the next step is they will ask me for the password. Okay. They will ask me for the password. So I'll enter the password here. So I click on OK. You can see that I have a message here. I just click on yes. If they are connecting to the remote server which we created. See this, the server is up and running. See, now we have successfully created a simple VM in AWS. See how much performance they are giving even if it is having 1 GB RAM. But if you take the same configuration Azure, it will be too slow. But here in AWS, I have felt it's very fast. See this? Now we have a server in AWS up and running without any hassle and without any delay. See this? Everything is up and running. So by the time, let's do one thing. Let me go to Azure here. Okay. Let me go to Azure here. It's basically started up. See this? I click on add. Okay. So team, okay, we have some few words you may get confused. Okay. The first word you can get confused is these two things. Leave it. Let's discuss this thing. separately. Let me write down this for you to discuss later. So we have discussed resource groups.
Query on RDP.
Okay.
Usually, like if we are running any load on premise data center, we connect to a VPN first and then access the RDP. Like it's not a good practice to net the RDP port outside on the firewall so that public can scan
100%,
it.
yes. We will use the VPN only.
But in this scenario, we are directly connecting to the instance over the RDP protocol.
Yeah, we can avoid that. We can basically block that and basically allow access via VPN only, no problem.
So how do we set up a VPN on AWS?
In AWS, we have a service called as VPC. In VPC itself, they have option for that. Okay. VPN, we call it VPN gateway.
Okay. And say, for example, if we are using a unit like FortiGate or something on premise, so can we create a device to?
Yes. Yes. We can create a virtual appliance here. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah. See now, tell me, team. So now let's say let's keep it. Let's keep this resource group in a build. So that's a new concept for you. So anything else, team? Others can you tell me? Other services can you tell me? So here I can give the name, right? So what is the difference in AWS? In AWS, you don't. It's not mandatory that you give a name. You can do it later also. But in Azure, you have to give a name for sure. So I'll give a name. Production server 01. Okay. Basically, they have some problems like this. Okay. Fine. So the only difference is in AWS, you have to choose the region here first. Then only you can create the VM. But here what happens, you can select the VM or we can select the region wherever you want. The problem in AWS, this is the problem in AWS. When you basically take North Virginia here, see this? When you take North Virginia, you can see the servers running in North Virginia only. When you take Mumbai, you can see the servers running in Mumbai only. When you take Singapore, you can see the servers running in Singapore only. But in Azure, you can see everything in the same console. So now I am selecting, I am selecting a location in India, or let's make it US East, so that we can have all the options. So I'm selecting US East here, just a region. Okay. Now, so next one. So basically, this is also a new concept for you. Availability option. Let's write down that also. So except that everything I think you can answer. So tell me, what is the next one? I basically create I give the name of the VM. Then I don't give any availability option. So what is this image thing? Can you tell me what could be this image in AWS? Can you compare this AWS image with this AWS thing?
AMI.
Great. Perfect. Cool. Great. You can select the AMI. That's perfect. See this? I have a lot of AMIs. Like, let's take the same thing. In AWS, we selected Windows Server. Here also, I'm selecting Windows Server. Perfect. So basically, the next one is size. What is the size, team? What is the size in AWS?
Elastic block storage.
No, size. This one.
Instance.
CPU.
Instance. Instance. See, when you click on this, when you click on the instance in AWS, we can see that you have a lot of instance configurations here. The same thing you call in Azure as VMs. There is no word called as instance in Azure. See this? So I'm selecting a bit more higher configuration so that it can give me more effective things. So I'm selecting, basically they will not give you any performance with 1 GB RAM and single core CPU. And this is also I felt very good in Azure. See this? They will tell me this is what you have to pay per month if you are selecting this configuration. But basically in AWS, if you want to know this, you have to go for some other window. Okay. So now I am selecting this. So what is this?
This includes the data center license as well for the month.
Yes, everything. Okay. So next one is they are asking me to create a user and password. But instead of username and password in AWS, what we have, Tim, tell me. In AWS, what we have instead of username and password here? We have to create a key pair. Yeah, here I have to basically, they will tell me that, okay, let's say I'm creating username. I have to give a password, but the password must be very complex. They will not allow simple passwords. I'm just creating a password here. Okay, perfect. So what is this theme? I have seen this somewhere else. Tell me, what is this? Tell me, Guru, what is
Security
this?
group.
Perfect. It's security groups, right? Security groups. See, We can configure the same thing more advanced in the next window. So I click on disk, which we call it as EBS in AWS. Here we have a disk. I'm just keeping it default. Okay. I click on networking. So this is the window where you select the, so team, what is this one? What is this in AWS? Tell me.
VPC.
That's it. We call it VPC. And see, the word called as security group is same for AWS and Azure. The word called as security group same for AWS and Azure. So basically I'm keeping it default. I click on next, nothing more. I click on review and create. See, totally what you understand here is everything is same, right? Nothing more. It's very simple. Like everything is easy for you. So if you learn AWS or if you learn Azure, the next platform you can do it very easily, right? Okay, let me create this. I'll tell you why I have created this. So by the time it is getting created, like the same way it will take some 3 to 4 minutes to create. So by the time it is getting created, team, let's work on this VM we have created in AWS. Can we host a website in this VM? Like, can we try to host a website and access this in this VM? Okay. So now you can see that I have a VM which I created in the AWS window. I have remotely connected to it. How can I host a website? Tell me how to install IAS, team. Windows experts here. Tell me how can I basically install a IAS software here or anything, Apache or anything. Start menu. Server manager. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. App is .cpl. Yeah, it's also fine, but still it can be more complicated actually. So now what I'll do is once the refresh is complete, I'll be able to clear it from here. Let me see. Please wait while the refresh is complete. I'm expecting all of you are able to understand. If there is any concerns, any queries, you can ping me, no problem. I'm going in a very basic way only. If there is any constraints you have, you can tell me. I'll discuss. And if there is any advanced queries you have, we can take it offline. You can basically ping me personally, no problem. Okay. Now I click on manage here. I click on add roles and features. I click on next. Next. So I select web server IAS. Just I want to install a website. So I select a web server here. See this? Nothing more. I just click a few next. Everything is fine. Done. So once it is installed, okay, once this website is installed, I must be able to access the website from anywhere in the world, right? Let's see. It's getting installed. So team, by the time if you have any queries, you can basically ping me on LinkedIn. I'll share you my LinkedIn profile, no problem. And my contact number also, just give me a second. I'll share you my LinkedIn profile so that you can ping me if there's any queries. Give me a second. This is my LinkedIn profile, team. You can basically connect with no problem. How to rush. Yeah, sure, no problem. Okay, that's it. So team, let me see if the installation is over. It will take some time, maybe maximum 1 or 2 minutes. By the time it will finish, and once it is finished, we'll basically go to the see and how much we are able to connect to it. Okay, that's it. So now it's getting installed. See, it's completed. So the installation is completed. So as for now, my server I have created in AWS. Okay, the server I have created in AWS is having a website up and running. So team, I'll give you my IP address. Okay, I'll give you the public IP address. Can you please check with in your browser and tell me if you're able to access this? Can you please check your this particular IP address and see if you're able to access the website? Can I access this website which I created? Any issues, team? Can you access this? Just try to copy this IP address. Okay. Okay. Yeah, definitely. It's no. Definitely, it's no. Let me try it in my case. For me also, it's no. Tell me, team. Those people who is not working at AWS, tell me what could be the reason for this. Why I am not able to access this?
Security group.
Exactly. Why? Why? Because when you basically click on the security group here, see this, I click on the security group here. What is the only thing I allowed? I allowed only RDP. I allowed only RDP. See this? So what I can do, I can basically go to this. I can select edit inbound rules. I can add HTTP also. Because I allowed RDP only, they will not be allowing HTTP traffic. So I click on add rule. Yeah, I'll select HTTP. It's a normal thing. I'll select HTTP here. I'll select everyone. So basically all the protocols. Nothing more. Save rules. So once it is done, it is basically doing now. Just give me a second. Yeah, it's done. So team, can you please try it out now? Are you able to access this?
I'm able to access it.
Perfect. That's it.
I'm also able to access it.
Yeah. Amazon provides that. Okay. So basically what happens is, see now you know what is an instance, what is an AMI, what is a security group, what is a tag, what is VPC. And we must discuss one more thing called a snapshot. Okay. Snapshot means, let's say for example, I have a storage for this particular server here. Okay. Due to some reason, if my storage got corrupted, if there is some reason, if my storage goes wrong, I can restore, I can rebuild my storage from the snapshot. I can create a snapshot of the volume I have attached to this instance. And once I have a snapshot, I will be able to restore this particular storage back without any hassle using this snapshot. Okay, that's it. Yeah, that we'll do it later, but now that's it. So that's about the Azure team. We have a lot more things, but this is a very simple example I'm giving you. So like this, in Azure Services, it's complete. It's complete. It's showing it's complete. Let me basically click on refresh. Let me see if I was able to complete. So you can see this here, team. My server is up and running here. So how do I connect to it, team? In AWS, you know how to connect to it. So in Azure, how do I connect to it? Tell me. It's okay. Even if you're not an Azure person, you must be able to tell me this. Please wait. It's still starting up. Please wait. It will take some time. I'm having some issue with my my browser actually. That's why. Okay. Tell me how to connect to it, team. Tell me. In AWS, you know how to connect. You basically right click and connect, right? In Azure, how to connect to a team? I have a VM here. See this? I have a VM here called as production server. So how do I connect to it? Okay, if I click on connect, which one I have to select? RDP, right? Or as such? It's a Windows machine. It's a Windows machine. I connect to RDP. Okay. Yeah, RDP only, yeah, definitely. So I click on RDP. It's the same thing. You will download an RDP file. Nothing more. So I click on download RDP file. I click on open. The same thing, nothing more. The same windows, the same options. So they are asking username and password. I basically give the username I just created. I'll put the password. I click on yes. Yeah, sure, Saurabh, I'll show you. See, it's very simple. Basically, I click on overview here. I click on connect. I click on RDP. That's all, nothing more. I click on connect here. That's a download RDP file. You'll get a file like this. You can click on the file. That's it. So now you can see that my connection is getting completed. See, we are connecting to it. Very easy, right? I have successfully connected to this particular VM. See this in Linux in there also. Okay, now tell me, team. Now tell me. So now you know, you see that. Yeah, that we'll discuss. That we'll discuss offline. Bastion, who basically, which it's a different topic. We'll discuss offline. So Bastion hosts is server which is called as Gem server also. But in Azure we have a dedicated service called as Bastion service that we'll discuss. Okay, offline. Or we have to discuss a lot of things if I have to tell you that. That's why. Sorry for that. Okay. So basically now I'll minimize this window. Okay, I'll minimize this window. So team, now it's fine. I have a virtual machine here. So like the same way we done in AWS, can you add a role in the security group here in Azure? How can I do it? Tell me. AWS, we have done it, right? At the same way, can you basically go to Azure and tell me? I know you are basically newbie in this Azure console, but just tell me how we can basically add a role in the, or basically add HTTP in the security group. Tell me. Okay, I click on this here. Anything? So here, IAM, no, not IAM. You have some, no, security is different. It's different. Let's take, okay, let's see. Is
networking. Networking.
Okay, let's see. Can be security or networking? Let's see. So here, what I'll do, which one I have to click, team, tell me. I have to click add inbound port rule. Very simple. You can do it. See this. This delay is because of my issue. Okay, not part of Azure. I have a DNS issue, I think, don't know, from yesterday onwards. So basically here what I can do, I can add the role called as, it's broadband is very fast. You'll get some 765 Mbps speed. Basically some DNS corrupted issue in my modem. I tried to raise it, but still the same issue persists. I don't know what happened. Okay, no problem. I don't want to basically waste your time on this. It's nothing. Basically what we can do is we can click on the firewall rule and click on add inbound port rule and add the rule. That's all, nothing more. Okay, I can basically go to that particular rule and I can add the rule, nothing more. Okay, let's keep it aside. Basically, if you go behind it will take some time. We have to discuss a lot of more topics. So team, it's very similar, right? It's very similar. See this in AWS and Azure, it's very similar. What you felt is, see, now we discuss AWS, you are able to do Azure by yourself, except for some very small things. So these are the two things which is you are not familiar in AWS, because we have something called as resource group and we have an availability set. That's all. This is a very interesting concept in AWS and Azure. Okay, resource group. Okay, that we will discuss. So basically in Azure, we have something called as a resource group. I'll tell you. In Azure, what happens is Azure is more modular. What I felt is basically Azure is more modular. Modular means like they're having everything as modules. Like for see this. We are having a public IP address here. So public IP address is a separate module for them. It's a separate service and module for them. We have a network that's a separate service and module for them. We have a storage device that's a separate module for them. We have a separate firewall or NIC, that's a module for them. So basically they don't have a single service. So they make all of these things different services. Like for example, let's say, see this. If you go to the firewall configuration, you can see that. See this. We have a separate module here. This is a separate module here. See this. So basically they have everything as a separate module. So the problem here is when you try to create a VM, listen to this carefully team, it can be confusing for AWS people. So when you create a VM in Azure, Azure will create a separate storage, Azure will create a separate IP address, Azure will create a separate LAN card. So they will provide a lot of things separately. So the problem here is if I basically go to this virtual machines and remove the server, listen to this carefully team, if I basically go to the virtual machines and remove the server, it will remove the server only. They will not remove the storage device or network port or VNet or anything which you created as a part of this. So when you create this particular server in Azure, they will create you some 4 to 5 extra things, additional things for this to work effectively. So when you remove this, this will remain. To avoid that, we can group all of them together. Okay, we can group all of them together into something called as a resource group. See this. whatever things you create in Azure, you have to create a resource group. See this, I'll show you that. You can see that, please wait. See, I have a new resource group here. When I open this, you can see that you'll understand this clearly now. See this, see this. So basically, this is the only thing we created. Okay, this is the only thing we created. So this one, this one, this one, and the things below is basically created as a part of this. So if I want to remove all of them at the same time, I can delete the resource group. If I want to delete all of them at the same time, I can basically delete the resource group. How do I do that? I basically click on delete resource group, copy the name, sorry, I paste it here. So when I paste the name here, see this, they will delete all these things which we created as a part of this. It's more effective or more easy for us to manage it. This I felt very useful.
Is there any practical advantage of this approach over AWS?
100%, yes. Basically, see, in AWS what happens is, even now also I got some 4,000 rupees INR bill just because I forgot to remove something. But at the same time in Azure, if basically you have a resource group, if you remove the resource group, what happens? It will be more easy for me to basically, you know, manage it effectively. Like for example, I'll be able to delete the things and manage the things effectively. Like if I have something which is in the same life cycle, I can do it effectively. Clear?
Clear.
Yes. That's it. Like it can give me more value. That's why basically I go for this particular thing. Okay, that's it. Cool. That's it. What is it, Prakash?
So can you have like a network IP address in a different region and a production server hard drive in a different region?
No, not possible. Not possible. Not
because
possible.
you are seeing location everywhere, right? So can you choose them in different locations?
No, not possible. Not possible. Basically, if you want to create an VM and all, you have to be in the same location.
Okay.
Yep. Same region, I see. Okay. So Prakash, I didn't get your question actually. So for any instance creation, can there be a maker checker? What is that maker checker? Like you want to have the monitoring, some other kind of alarms or something?
No, I think like, you know, if somebody deletes it, it will go for an approval to somebody, and when that person approves it, only then it will get deleted.
Like that. Not like that. So basically in AWS, we can prevent people from deleting it, or basically we can get alert for all those things. But instead of that, there is no way you can basically get approval from somebody for first, then it gets deleted. Not like that. You can basically restrict it. We have, yeah, 4 eyes principle. Now I got it. So basically what happens is basically when you go for this AWS, you can prevent people from accessing some specific servers. You can prevent people from basically starting and stopping and removing it. We call it as roles, policies, and users. We call it as identity and access management in AWS. Okay, that's it. So let's say now you know this 2 services. So let me remove the servers. So whatever things you create, it's always a best practice to remove it. Okay. Can we use only created? Yes, definitely. Yes, Sasim, we can create. We can do. No problem. We can use a already created resource group for a VM. No problem. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, okay. So I am basically selecting Azure. I'm removing the server. Okay. I don't want to basically incur charges. So team, I'm just giving the basics only. We have a lot more things regarding this resource group. Also, we have a lot of things we can discuss. I'm just giving an overview. So to start. So let me remove the server. How do I remove this? I right click the server, instance state, terminate. See, it's remote now. Okay. Now it's remote. Okay. So the next one. Okay. Now we discuss about a service called as AWS. Yeah, the available set we'll discuss. Okay. So now we discuss service called as AWS EC2 and Azure VM. Azure VM. The same way. Yeah. Okay. Just give me a second. Currently we use Actros. Okay. For accessing. Yeah, definitely. Yes, we can use it a third party. We can use it a third party actually. Not possible in the normal way. You can use a third party. Okay, that's it. So now what happens is basically, so the next one I want to tell you is, now we discuss about IR service, let's discuss about a PaaS service also. Okay, let's discuss about a PaaS service also. So when I say the word PaaS service, I can go for, in AWS we have a service called as Elastic Beanstalk. In Azure we have something called as Azure App Services. Okay, let's go for both of it and do it in a hands-on. So now what happens is, when you have a server in AWS or Azure in the EC2 or Azure VM, from the operating system onwards, updating, managing, maintaining all the things regarding the operating system and everything, it's your responsibility. Is it clear? But the same time, what happens is, basically when you go to a PaaS service, it can be Elastic Beanstalk or Azure App Service or anything. If I basically go for a PaaS service, what happens is, they will give you a pre-configured, predefined platform. Just upload your code and run your application. Let me show you an example here. So now I am basically going to a PaaS service here. Okay, services. I select something called as Elastic Beanstalk here. It's a PaaS service. Okay, so basically you can see that my Elastic Beanstalk is basically empty now. See this? It's empty now. So what I'm going to do is, I'm basically going to deploy a PaaS service which can serve me some kind of, let's say, a Python platform, or let's say an Apache platform, or whatever it is, just an example platform. Okay, I select create an application here. See, this is how it works. You just choose your platform you want, Java or .NET or PHP, whatever it is. You select the platform you want, you upload your code to Elastic Beanstalk. That's it. So they will take care of hardware provisioning, load balancing, scalability, monitoring, patching, security, everything they will take care. You can look into your code and basically work on the code only. You don't have to worry about anything else. Okay, that's it. So now what I'm going to do is, see this, I'm basically going to create an application here. It's very simple. So I click on create an application. So I select the application name here. Okay, I select the application name here. Let's say, for example, my web app, just the name I'm giving. Okay, so I don't have to select, I can put the tag also if I want. Basically, I don't prefer now. So the only thing is, you basically give a name, you select the platform you want. I select the platform I want. Let's say I can select the platform called as, let's say, PHP. Anything is fine. I select PHP, or let's say I select Node.js, any platform. I'm selecting PHP now. I'm selecting the version I want. I basically upload my code. As I don't have a PHP code, I can use a sample application provided by AWS. Okay, so we can upload a code also if I want. As for now, I'm selecting sample application. Click on create application. Okay, now it is getting created. Please wait. Is it some error? Yeah, it's already there. That's why it's nothing. It's very simple. So application version sample application already exists. It's okay. Let me see if I have this issue. That's fine now.
So when you saw that it was empty, right? Like before you started, there was nothing else, no other instance.
Yeah, nothing was there. Nothing was there. But previously the tag was there. The name was already there. Like we have a name called as the application, which is already there. That's why.
Okay.
See, it's already there. My web was already there. That's why. Yeah. Now it's fine. See this. Now what happens is, they are building me a server. They are building me an operating system. They are installing the PHP. They are hosting the application for you. It's very simple. Let's wait for it to complete. By the time, can we do it in Azure also? So we don't have to wait, right? So basically I go to Azure. So in Azure, the name is called as App Services. In AWS, we call it as Elastic Beanstalk. In Azure, we call it as App Services, nothing more. I basically select App Services. So tell me team, can you just show it to me how you can do it in Azure? Basically, Pankaj, they use Linux, they will use Windows also in some cases. Basically, they use it. But yeah, you can remotely log into this particular thing for this Elastic Beanstalk only, okay? Yep. So how do I do this thing? Tell me. Add, okay.
We'll go to add.
Okay, perfect. Now I select, okay, resource group, I select resource group, perfect. This name, app service RG, okay. So now I'll give a name. This is the URL which we basically access my website or the sample website I'm creating. Let's say cloud webinar .azurewebsites.net. Okay. So what is this runtime stack team? The platform. See this, the same thing. So I'm selecting Python here also, or let's select a different platform here. Let's select Node.js. Okay. Or let's, yeah, Node 12 is the latest. I'll select Node. So, but here they will like give me more option. So basically in this service, they will ask me whether if I want to have Linux or Windows. But in Elastic Beanstalk, they will give us, but it can be confusing. But here it's very easy. See this? I can select the operating system. I can select the location I want. Basically, I'm selecting US East here. So now it's very simple. I click on monitoring. I click on review and create. See, after this, I can upload my application here. No trouble. So let it create. By the time it is getting created, we'll basically go to see and here and see what is the status now. See, it's almost done. It may take some time. Please wait. So, okay, while it's getting created, let me go back to my EC2 console and refresh the screen. So team, where does this come from? Where does this come from? Pankaj, that's very simple, but we have to have a lot of steps. If I basically go behind the advanced things here, we'll not be able to finish this. So let's do one thing that we can take it offline, no problem, okay? If you want, I can share the link and everything to do the step-by-step process, okay? That's fine. So team, what is this team? I have removed the instance, right? Then how do this came? Okay, what is this? I removed everything, right, in EC2. Then how this particular new thing came? Can you tell me how it came actually? Okay. It's not asking OS, bro. It's not asking OS. Basically, that is in Azure, right? In Azure, they are asking whether you want to have this platform in the Windows or Linux. That's all. See, this is basically created. Okay, this is basically created by Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, this is basically created by Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, is it clear? So let's go to this. Please wait. So this is the one I created now. It's showing. It can take some time. Please wait. Getting active only. Once it is active, okay. Once it is active, I will be able to access the sample website from here. Let me see the status of here also. So I think here also it's getting complete. Yeah, it's complete. We basically go to the app service here. It's clear. See this? It's completed. Okay. So by the time, let me see the status here. Is it created? Okay. See, my website in AWS is up and running. I can upload my own code. I can upload my own website information without any hassle. So they will take care of everything in the backend. The server, also everything they will take care in the backend. If I want, I can do some customized configurations. I can log into the instance also, no problem. Okay. See this? You can see all these things here. See this? Like configuration part, health and everything. We can do monitor everything here. So they have configured everything for you. The only thing is, let's say for example, if I want to upload my website, I can click on upload my website. I can upload the file from my local system. That's it. Nothing more. It's very simple. Okay. That's it. Like the same way in Azure, you can see that. See this? It's up and running. Let me try to access this. Okay, basically I'll try to access this. I have a URL for it. See that this is my URL here. I copy this URL. I paste the URL here and see if I can access this. See, it's up and running now. Node.js. See this? I can upload my own code also if I want. No hassle. Okay. So that's the theme. That's the whole thing. This is how you basically have a PaaS service in AWS. Sorry, Azure and AWS. So team, any queries till now? Team, anything? Any queries till now? Anything? Others? Any queries? Any concerns you have in this PaaS services which we discussed? Just an overview I'm giving. But in Azure, one more thing you have to keep in mind, team. I don't suggest you remove it from here. Do not remove the service from inside the service. You go to resource group and remove it from there. Why? Because basically it will help us to remove all the things as a part of it. See this one. So if I remove it from here, it will help me remove everything. Not this one, the next one. Delete it. So that means that, the whole thing is, team, what I want to just make you understand is, if you learn a platform in depth, the other platform can be very easy for you. Point number one. Point number two is, some features can change, some very small changes can be there. Except like, for example, it's like you buy an Apple mobile phone and an Android mobile phone. iOS and Android. The things are same, 100% same. Just change like a few buttons or some things will change, that's all. Except this, everything is same. So the whole thing is, learn a platform. Yes, Pankaj, yes, Prakash, we can do one thing. We can basically take it offline, no problem. I can share your lab manual, no problem. Okay, no problem. Just ping me personally, okay? I hope you have my number. You can just share me, ping me. Cool. So it's done. By the time, let me remove this also. Here also I'll remove. So I basically want to remove this. I click on this, actions, terminate. It's mandatory for remove this team. So it's getting removed. So once it is removed, it's over. You don't have to worry about these things again. They will take care of all these things. Okay. So this is how you basically work on AWS and Azure. So a few more services I won't tell you on this. So in Azure also, yes, we can have a snapshot, but basically it's a different way. So basically, no, not like that. What happens is basically in Azure, we call instance as VM. That's all. In Azure, we call instance as VM. That's the only thing. Okay. Clear? So basically in Azure, what happens is we call instance, or in AWS, we call it instances. In Azure, we call it as VMs. In AWS, we call it as AMIs. In Azure, we call it as, tell me.
Yeah, my question was around like for example, you have shown us that if we create something in Elastic Beanstalk, the instance will reflect in EC2. So similarly, if we create a platform in Azure App Services,
it will not. It will not. It will be in a different location only. It will not see in the that window actually. Okay, perfect.
All right.
And team, there's one more thing. If you basically want to see the difference, okay, Azure AWS comparison, you can basically type it like this. See, they will give you the key difference. See, let's see the services. Let's say compute services, data warehousing, analytics services. Yeah, compute. See this. In AWS, we basically call it as EC2 instances. In Azure, we call it as VMs. In AWS, we call it as auto scaling. In Azure, we call it as scale set. So the same thing, the name only changes with a very small difference. So what is the whole point here, team? So what I'm trying to make you understand is, basically, when you say AWS is best because you studied AWS, you study Azure is best because you studied Azure. So either AWS or Azure, any platform, in a lot of cases, you may have to choose in between. I have seen that this Azure App Service is giving you more value in some specific cases. then you compare with Elastic Beanstalk. So I have to go for this. So Azure is giving me more effectiveness for this DNS in some cases. So basically what happens is you learn the services, you have a comparison. Tomorrow if you have a requirement, you can basically compare the cost and you can compare the features and everything provided, and you can go for the cloud service provider. And there is no problem that you can have your server in AWS, your storage in Azure, or basically your database server in AWS, web server in Azure. There is no problem in that. You can have in both the scenarios because almost all these guys are providing you the same thing. In Google also, that's the best thing. Okay, Google or just let's say GCP AWS comparison. See, almost the names is similar also. See this. I don't know why these guys say that Azure and Google guys are basically comparing with AWS. Seriously. See this. Now what happens is, now what I see the same thing. They also have regions and zones. They also have a same thing called as compute and storage. See this. In AWS we call it as compute EC2. See this. EC2. In Google we call it as compute engine. And we call it as Elastic Beanstalk, app service in Azure, here app engine. So a few more things, like for example, almost all the names are same here. We have instances here. Everything is almost same here. So basically we learn one, the next one is easy for you, the whole thing. So any other queries, team? Till now, any other queries? Feel free to ask your queries, team. Anything? Yeah, sure, definitely. Azure AWS services comparison. GCP AWS services comparison. Even I can share your file which is more effective. Let me see if I can share your file. You can ping me personally, team. I can share your file also. I'll share the link now. But you can I'll share your file which is PDF which will contain all these things. The Alibaba comparison, all these things like that. Okay, first one. Second one. That's it. Hope it's clear for all of you. If you like this, we can do team. And one more thing. So people ask me, Krish, where can I get the textbooks for all this, learning all these things? Let's say you're not going for a course. Okay, I'm not talking about learning a course. Definitely it's mandatory that you can learn something. But what I'm talking here is, let's say while you're working, I want to get some more knowledge in a particular service. See, last time what happened was I was basically working a project. So I want to know about this IoT device management and IoT this analytics, these two things. Example. So if I want to know that, the best way I can get is the documentation provided by the cloud service provider. Let's say, for example, if I want to know or let's say AWS KMS, I'll type AWS KMS FAQ, or let's say documentation. I'll get the documentation provided by AWS. This is the best reference for if you want to learn it in a perspective of a job profile. It's not for the training and all, basically not certification level, you can learn a part and all. But now basically if you want to basically focus on see this will give you more value. AWS KMS. You get the documentation here, I think. Where is it? Somewhere here. Let me see if I can find, it's not here actually. This one.
But is there certification also associated with this, Krish?
Yes, yes. We have certifications for all these things. Yeah. What we'll do is, once we finish this lab and all, the next 1.5 hours or 2 hours, we are focusing more strictly on the certifications, how to use a career path and all these things. Okay, that's it. Like even if it's customized for each and every people, I'll tell you how to basically, now let's say I am a security professional, how can I pursue a career in cloud computing? I'm a developer, how can I pursue a career in cloud computing? I'm a fresher in IT, how can I pursue a career in cloud computing? Basically, I can answer all these queries for you. But as for now, we'll finish this, okay? That's it. See this. So this documentation will give you the complete reference for this particular service. The same way, in Azure also you have the same, like for example, let's say if I want to know Azure storage documentation. See, I'll get the complete things in Azure portal. I'll get everything here. So that's the whole thing, team. It's very effective. Okay, that's it. So that's the whole thing, team. Now we'll go to a few more. Now we discuss about the IaaS services. Now we discuss about the PaaS services. Now let's go a bit detail or a little more about the storage services.
Hello. Yeah. Can we after the course? Can we get the recordings back?
Which one, bro?
The recordings.
Yeah, you'll get it. No problem.
Okay.
You can send an email to them in person. You'll get it. No problem. Okay.
Okay.
So what we can do is I'll share a feedback link. Once you share the feedback link, and once I get it, they will send it to you via that email which you send the feedback link. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Good. Okay, those who share the feedback link will get the recording. No problem. So now what happens is now we are going this. That you can I'll confirm. Okay, I'll confirm that. I think yes, I'll confirm that. Okay, you can basically talk to the team and confirm. You'll get a mail regarding that. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So basically now we have something called as storage services. Storage services is something which we have to discuss in detail. But before that, just to my clarity team, what all type of storage device which we have in IT team? We have different types, right? Basically, when we talk about storage, we have a RAM, like in that also we have cache memory, or we have main memory, SRAM, DRAM. Then we have a virtual memory. Yeah, registers and all. Yeah, virtual memory. Then we have what do you call that? Let's say hard disk. Let's say SSD. Let's say optical storage. Let's say like this. We have different types, and also we have something. We can generally divide them into 3 types. DAS, it stands for directly attached storage. Sorry. The next one is we have a NAS, which stands for network attached storage. I'm basically managing taking this. Okay, the next one is I have a SAN, which basically covers the storage area networking. Storage area okay. So I have different types, right? I have a NAS, I have a SAN, I have a DAS. So what is DAS? Like anything which you connect directly to your computer is called as DAS. Like your pen drives, your memory cards, your internal hard disk, your external hard disk, your flash memories. So anything which we connect directly to your computer is basically what we call as DAS. Like your internal hard disk, internal SSD, USB hard disk, USB pen drives. So anything which you connect directly is called as DAS, which you already know. What is a NAS team? What is a NAS? Network attached storage. Right?
File-based storage.
It's a which one? Which one, bro?
File-based storage.
It's a file-based storage. So it's like a file share. What happens is basically I'll show you that here. Let's say I have a network here. Let's say I have a switch. Okay, I have a network switch here. I basically have a switch. So I have multiple computers, even wired or wireless, water routers. You can assume these are computers. I'm not good in drawing these things. Okay. So basically what happens is I can attach a device here as a part of this called as NAS. It's a storage device. So what happens? These devices can basically access this NAS device using an IP address as a network device. So what I can do? Basically, these people can basically put the data to this NAS device and centralize, manage, and share the data in between multiple people. Okay, it is accessed via the network. It is accessed via the network, which we call as the NAS. And finally, we have something called as SAN. What is SAN? Storage Area Networking. So SAN is a bit advanced thing. Like for example, let's say we have a SAN device here which can contain multiple storage devices inside. So we have a SAN box. So here I have multiple hard disk or SSD like this. Okay. So this is a SAN which I have multiple storage devices here. So what happens is if I want to have a storage, okay, if I basically want to have a storage for this computer, let's say the whole size of this SAN is basically 100 TB. Example, I'm assuming that the size of the SAN storage is basically 100 TB. If it's 100 TB, let's say this particular server is telling me that they want to have some 500 GB of storage. What I'll do, I will create a logical volume from this. Okay, I repeat, I have a SAN device here. I have a SAN device here. This SAN device can contain multiple storage devices, which is basically totally 100 TB. So out of the SAN device, when a person is requesting me some storage, I can create a virtual or logical storage device and attach it to this particular server using optical fiber or something like that. FCO, something, FCX cable, something like that. So what do you call this virtual thing called, team? What do you call this virtual unit we create?
LUN.
We call it as LUNs, logical unit numbering. Okay, LUN. That's it. So that's what we call a SAN basically. Okay. So we have a lot more now. Like for example, in cloud we have some. Now we have a file share. Okay, you know this thing. We have a file storage. Like we have a file share. Like this, we have something called as the object storage. Chris, that name is very not familiar for us. Object storage. It will be familiar for you if I say this in a different name called as Google Drive. Now this name is familiar to you, Google Drive. Why? Because the Google Drive, the Amazon S3, the Azure blob containers, all these things are basically what you call as object storage. So now it's nothing, whatever things you put inside this will be called as objects. Let me show you an example here. Okay. So in the world, the whole world, AWS is the best provider. AWS is the best provider for having an object storage. I'll give a demo on this. So I have a company called as Alamy Images. Okay, it's not my company basically. I supported them for a lot of cloud process basically. See this? We have a company here called as Alamy Images here. You can see that. So this company is nothing. They basically sell stock photos. Basically, what happens is, if you want to sell stock photos, I'll give an example. Let's say I want to search for some images here. Let's say, what is the thing? Or Amazon. So I'm citing a name called as Amazon. So they have some photos. Okay, they have some photos which is basically a proprietary. See this? They have some photos here. Okay, see this? They have some photos here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a picture here. Let's say I'm going to select a picture here. When I select this picture, you can see that they're asking me, okay, if you can pay this money, you can basically, get more discount, or you can get a discount and you can get it for rupees 1,199, 1,199 rupees. Okay. So like this, you can purchase this. So basically they have some millions of images. Okay. This company is basically having some millions of images. So see this, they have, as per them, they have 205 million images they have. So if they store all these images in a normal storage, by then their company cannot survive for at least even 1 month because the cost is too high. So what they're doing, they are storing all the images in the backend. Okay, they are storing all the images in the backend in an object storage. They are storing all the images in the backend in an object storage, like Amazon S3. They're storing in Amazon S3 in background. The best example, Netflix, right? Netflix is storing all the movies and everything. The backend storage for Netflix is Amazon S3, which is the object storage. So let me show you an example here. I click on storage here. I click on S3. And while it's opening, I'll tell you one more thing. So I'll tell you why I felt this is very much interesting, team. I'll tell you why I felt this interesting. Why? Because basically you can see that when I started, the number of services in AWS is just 30 or 40. Now you can see that they have introduced a lot of services, especially these a lot of services they introduce every day, I can say. Like, let's say I'll tell you something. Let's say one service I felt yesterday. So yesterday what happened was this particular service, where is it? Yeah, this particular service called as Data Sync is basically new to me. I just saw it only 2 days back. So like this, they will give you a lot of new services every day, which will give you more value, more flexibility. Yeah, fine. You can see that. I basically now I basically have a console here. Okay, see this, what you can see is, so in Amazon S3, okay, in Amazon S3 or in Azure, we have to create a storage unit. So basically, team, why do you want to have a or can you store something in your computer without a drive letter? Can you store something in your computer outside a drive letter? Like, can I store something outside the C drive or D drive here? Can I store something? I want to store some files outside the C and D drive. Is it possible? Why? Why? Because whatever things you're selecting, if it's a desktop or documents or downloads or any location you're selecting, it will be inside this drive disk. So basically the path itself starts like this. We have a C drive, inside that we have a folder, inside that we have a file. This is how it works, right? So the whole thing you have to understand is, starting with the drive letter, like the same way in Azure AWS, if you want to store some files inside the Amazon S3 or Azure Blob Storage, you have to create something called as a bucket. Just a name, don't confuse. Bucket. Bucket is like a container. It's like your C drive or D drive, nothing more. We have to create a container here. Okay. See, I already have some buckets here. Let me click on this bucket here. I can upload any files to this. See this? I click on upload. I can upload any files to this. See this? I'm basically uploading some files here. See this? I can easily upload multiple files to this. But one thing you have to keep in mind, team. So whatever things I upload to Amazon S3, we call it as objects. I repeat, whatever things I upload, it can be a Word file, Excel file, media file, audio file, log file. Whatever files I'm uploading to Amazon S3, we call it as objects. We call it as objects. Okay. Like the same way, in Azure also we have the same. So, and the size of a single file can be up to 5 TB. Don't forget, the size of a single file or a single object in AWS can be up to 5 TB. The single file, like this, we can store millions of files. There is no limit. Okay. We can store a file in Azure or Azure Object Storage. The maximum file size for a single file is up to 5 TB, and we can store multiple files like this, n number of files like this. Okay, so we can have a huge amount of storage, and you only pay exactly for what the storage you're using, nothing more. Okay, so in Azure also you have the same, but in Azure we call it as blobs. Nothing, just the name changes. In AWS we call it as S3. In Azure we call it as blobs. I click on add. So I can basically select something called as storage account here, just a storage. Just the name I'm giving. I can select if I want to have a blob. See this? I can select a blob storage. See this blob. Click on create. Once I create it, here also I can basically create buckets. But in Azure we don't say it as buckets. We call it as containers. The same thing. Yeah. I'll tell you, PK, on that. Basically, in Azure we call the buckets as containers. Okay, there is one thing. Okay, this is very common. So team, we have. So now PK is asking a question. What was about the S3 bucket data leak? Yes, if you're basically onto the cloud platform, you would have seen this word called as S3 bucket was having a security breach. Basically, a lot of people's data is lost. Yes, I agree with that. I'll tell you why. So we have Windows and Linux. Okay, you don't have to purchase. Bro. You can start using Akash. You can pay for what you're using, nothing more. There's nothing called as predefined purchase. When you copy files, it will keep on increasing. That's all. Okay. So what happens is here you can see that. Let's say in AWS S3. Okay, in AWS S3. So let's give it a different one. Why we have more attacks on Windows than Linux, team? I'm a complete Linux guy for a long time, but I basically love Linux a lot. I am also using Windows. So basically, why we have more attack on Windows than Linux? Tell me.
Market
is it
share.
because Linux is more secure? Is it because Linux is more secure?
Market share.
Okay. Basically, it is definitely more secure, but Windows is having the more market share. An attacker is basically defining a malware for Linux. The time he is spending for it will not giving worth. Like basically, if he spent time on creating malware on Windows, it will give him more value. Why? Because 96.7% market share is basically with Windows now. Okay. So what happens? So basically Windows. So like the same way, we have a lot of providers like Google or let's say like Azure or AWS or people providing services like this. But this is the best service in the world which is used by almost some 95% customers. So what happens? Basically it's having more attack. But the last attacks happened because, see, this is how I protect it. Okay. I'll tell you how the attack happened. So basically when I open this particular thing, object storage, I go to permissions here. You can have an access control list. You can have a bucket policy. You can have a identity management policy. You can have a role. You have a lot of security mechanisms like this. You have multiple layers of security mechanism to restrict or refrain the access to Amazon S3. But what happens is when people make a loophole, when you create a script or basically when you create a bucket policy or a JSON code for that, if you make a small security flaw, the attackers may utilize it. So last time also when the developers or the people who is basically managing it made a lot of security flaw, that lead to attack. Even basically when I teach them my AWS security and all, okay, when I teach my AWS security, I will teach this identity access management or this IAM policies or basically roles and policies. This topic I'll take for at least 2 days. So people ask me, why, Krish, you are giving some more importance or basically more time on this particular topic only? Why? Because if you don't have a proper idea about how to manage the access to something, you'll not be able to effectively manage the cloud platform. Even today also, I have some people who passed the AWS security specialty exam and Azure also. So they told me, Krish, out of the questions, almost some 60% questions had this particular IAM policies or bucket policy or restrictions in questions. Why? Because it's very important. So like that, if you have a proper security mechanism, if you basically have a proper security control, this will be more effective. Okay, that's it. So in Azure also it's getting created. Please wait. It's getting created. While it's created, we'll wait. Okay. I hope your entire team, I'm expecting you're able to follow what we're discussing. If there is any queries you have, you can ping me, no problem. Okay. And what we can do is, if there is any queries, I hope you have a number. I'll share it once again. If there is any queries, you can basically ping me personally on WhatsApp first, then we can have a call on this. Okay. No problem. Like if you have any career concerns or any queries or anything, first ping me on WhatsApp and we can have a call. Because basically if I'm on session, I can't be able to take the session full call. That's fine. Ping me on WhatsApp first and we can have a call. I'll discuss. Okay. No problem. So now, okay. Now let me see if it's created. It's getting created. Please wait. It's complete. Now basically I go to resource. See this, I have a storage created. So here what happens is, instead of buckets, okay, I have something called as containers, nothing more. Instead of buckets, I call it as containers, nothing more, just same thing. I give a name, let's say for example, InfoSec train gladiators. Just the name I'm giving, nothing more, okay? I can create. I can put the files into it. They can access from anywhere in the world. A lot of things like that. Okay. That's it. See, simply uploading some files without any hassle. Done. Like the same thing as Google Drive. But Google Drive is not an enterprise application. It's a public cloud application, which is basically for general public without any kind of secure mechanism. At the same time, AWS S3 and Azure Blob and everything is basically enterprise level application where it can serve any level of customers. See, this single file can be accessed by millions of customers at the same time without any delay. So they are giving you more value. Okay, that's it.
Is there a client application to upload as well, or we need to use web-based client only?
Yeah, no, we have a client application. I'll show you that. Please wait. Please wait. Let me see if I have it. Azure storage. Yeah, see this. But this client, this is what AWS lack. In AWS, there is no default client. You have to use a third-party client like Cloudberry, Cyberdeck, etc. But in Azure, we have a default client software. See, but this I found very interesting in Azure.
Is there any API limit on this?
No, not like that. We can have any number of APIs, no problem. Now it's that. But what I felt in basically in the case of AWS is you have to go for some third-party tools called as Cloudberry or Cyberdeck, let's say TNT Drive tools like that. See this? These are all third-party tools. I don't basically prefer third-party tools actually. See, this is a third-party tool. Okay, like this you can basically go for third-party tools. But in Azure we have a by default tool which will give you everything, like the best option, best thing, which is more effective than any other third-party tools. Okay, and that's it. So team, that's about the storage thing. Like the same way, we have a lot of services similar in AWS and Azure. Let's say for instance, let's say for example, in AWS we have a service called as, we have a database service called as DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL database. In Azure we have it as Cosmos DB. See, so in AWS what happens is basically we have a service called as VPC. In Azure we call it as VNets. So the services are almost very similar in AWS and Azure. And now what happens is they are offering you some very interesting service, like for example, let's say, I'll show you that here, please wait. See, if I basically go to a service called as AI and machine learning, or let's say I go to a service for IoT. See this, I click on IoT here. I can select a lot of IoT services here as a part of this. The same way, in AWS also, they are also providing IoT services here. See this? Where is the IoT? Yeah, see this IoT is there. So like this, you will get different services from AWS and Azure and cloud service providers, but the things are almost same. The only difference is a few more features will change. Like we can have some few features. That's only difference. Okay. So once you learn AWS or once you learn Azure, the next platform will be very simple for you. Okay, that's it. And even I felt some months back I got option to explore Oracle also, basically trained in Oracle as well. So basically what happens is Oracle cloud certification is there. So what I felt is when basically I went to Oracle, what I felt is Oracle cloud was something which is almost, I say 90% similar to AWS, except the console changes, a very small changes where instead of AWS they have Oracle. Almost everything I felt it's very interesting and very same like AWS and Oracle. So what happens is you learn one platform, the other platform will be very easy for you. Okay, that's it. Is it clear, team? Any queries in this? So team, we can ask you queries now on this platform. Any queries you have on this team? Anything? Any queries you have? Anything? Hope it's clear for all of you till now. We discussed. Perfect. So now what we'll do is, okay, I'll just give you one more thing and we'll basically have a break, and after that I'll start discussing about different career opportunities in basically cloud platform and how to basically build your skill set for cloud. Okay, it's not like you go for any course and do anything. Let's discuss step by step in an effective way, and I'll give you value. Okay, and I'll tell you what makes it to be a cloud security architect, a cloud DevOps engineer, what makes it to be a cloud monitoring expert. Like, people confuse a lot. Like, for example, they don't know where to start, or basically they get confused by different people or different web LinkedIn posts and everything. But it's something which you have to focus very effectively. Then it will be more easy for you. That's all. Nothing more. It will give more easy for you. That's all.
Can you please include a little bit more about networking, because whatever we have learned is running web applications. But if somebody wants to move their infrastructure to cloud, then they need to have a kind of an intranet, kind of a private network, wherein like services are blocked from the web, but only accessed over the intranet. So how to do that kind of a networking between VMs? Say, for example, if we need to move AD to the cloud completely, we don't want any domain controller on premises. So like just have an edge device, and all the machines would directly authenticate via a VPN tunnel in a DC in cloud.
Okay.
Like, people set up their own CS servers to 802.1x authentications. So being an infrastructure guy, like, I need to move out soon because they are giving infrastructure as a service. So if I'm able to make an infrastructure on premises, and if I need to move to cloud, like, it's more for developers, right? So I need to understand the moving infrastructure part.
Sure, definitely. I'll do one thing. I'll give you an idea about the VPC, a simple process of AWS migration, and some few more concepts. Okay, it'll take just, I'll give you an overview of all these things. Even if we can't show the labs complete, but I'll show you the VPN gateway and all this options I can show you to you. So it'll be more easy for you.
That would be great.
Perfect. Cool. No problem. So team, let's do one thing. Let's have a break now, and after that we'll continue. So after this, let's spend some 15 minutes on this, and after that we'll basically focus on the cloud career track, and we can have a QA also. Okay, Srinivas, I am on or during your presentation. Yes, Srinivas, yes. Yes. Srinivas, you can do one thing. You can basically ping me personally. I'll just talk to you on that. Okay. You can ping me personally, no problem. I hope you have my number. You can just ping me personally. Okay. Yep. And yeah. Okay, team. So let's have a break now. We'll start back by 15 minutes. Okay. You can have your dinner also. That's fine. Let's say by 9:15 we can back. Okay. Cool. Perfect, team. Back by 9:15. Okay, all of you. Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.
So now we are talking about the server migration service. So understand that, okay, when we have a server migration service, understand that basically in AWS or Azure or any cloud platforms, they will not basically allow you migrating a physical hardware server from the on-premises to the cloud platform. In that case, what you will do, what we can do is basically, we can basically have a tool like something like for example, let's say, I'll show you an example here, VMware P2V converter. See this, we have a tool called as VMware P2V converter. That means we have a tool called as VMware physical to virtual converter. We can basically convert a complete physical machine to a VMware virtual machine. And once you convert the VMware physical machine to VMware virtual machine, what we can do, we can upload that image to AWS. Okay, we can upload the image to AWS, and in the AWS we can basically deploy the image as an instance. I'll show you just a very simple thing of it. So basically click on get started here. It's very simple. The process like this, you have to download a file like this. Okay, it is some 2 GB or 3 GB size. you have to download a file like this. See this, you can have a file like this. You basically download this file, and once you download this file, you can attach this file to your vCenter environment in your on-premises, and basically you can convert using P2V converter, convert all your physical servers to virtual machines, and using this particular vCenter environment file you have, okay, using the server migration connector you have, you will be able to upload the particular image file to AWS as a snapshot. Is it clear? And that can be used to build a VM inside it. Is it clear, team? That can be used in AWS to build a VM inside it. If you want to have a step-by-step process also, I can basically share a documentation link on that. No problem. That will share personally. Okay, that's it. And basically, most people ask me one more doubt. Basically, what happens is people want to know how basically we can migrate a database from on-premises to AWS. But now what happens is I have seen that AWS or any other platform, basically they are giving you more effective methods to basically migrate a database service to cloud platform. So how do I do that? I can basically go for database migration service here. I click on the database migration service. This is very much easy actually. Please wait. So you can see here that, so we have AWS Database Migration Service. So this service will basically have three things. I'll just discuss that, okay? AWS Database Migration Service. Okay. So what happens is basically this particular service called as AWS Migration Service is having three things, okay? The first thing is we have something called as a source endpoint. Then we have a destination endpoint. Then we have something called as a replication instance. It's nothing very simple. So basically source endpoint is your current database, okay? Is your current database which is in on-premises. So source endpoint is basically your current database in the on-premises. Like for example, let's say I have a database in the on-premises, and that particular database I have in the on-premises is basically what you call as the source endpoint. That's what you call as the source endpoint. The database which you have in the on-premises, that's what you call as source endpoint. That means that let's say if I have a database on-premises, okay, I can make it public, or let's say I can make it publicly accessible, and I can connect to it to the source endpoint. And the destination endpoint is the target database which I have in AWS. Okay, in AWS. So what happens? We are migrating from this source database in the on-premises to the destination database in the cloud platform using a pre-configured fully managed thing called as replication instance. Okay, we are migrating from the source database in the on-premises to the destination database in the cloud platform using something called as a replication instance. So replication instance will help us to do the migration process for us. Okay, that's the whole thing. This is how the migration process works. So basically the migration is very simple. But at the same time, so how can you build a cloud platform securely? Or how can you make sure it's all created in a secure network? You can create something called as a VPC here. See this? I can create something called as a VPC here. So once I have a VPC, I can make sure I can create a virtual private network or virtual private cloud, which is basically secure and isolated from the other tenants. Now what? And even I can make it private also. Private sense means what? Basically, when I deploy a database, I'll show an example here. See this? I'll show an example here. Please wait. So in this picture, you can see that the picture I'm opening now. In this picture, you can see that. So basically, I want this web servers. Okay, I want this web servers to be accessible to AWS or accessible to the public via internet. But at the same time, do we have to make this database servers accessible to the public? Do we have to make this database servers access to the public team? Tell me. See, when I have a website, which is basically a front end, and on the website we have a backend thing called as database. So basically the database is accessed by the website only. So I don't want my customers to directly access my database server. So what I'll do, I'll place the database servers in network, which we call a subnet, which is basically private. That means that that particular thing cannot be accessible to anybody. That particular thing cannot be accessed to anybody from the public. Okay, that particular thing cannot be accessed to anybody from the public. So what happens? Yeah, so no, it's not. Basically what happens is we will make this web servers in a public location, like basically people can access, but database servers is always in the internal zone, or we call it as a private zone actually. Why? Because we want to make sure nobody will be accessing that from the thing. And let's say, I think Neeraj was asking, right? So Neeraj was asking about one more thing called as how can we secure the connection? So by default, AWS offers a predefined set of VPN configurations called as AWS Virtual Private Gateway, and we have something called as a customer endpoint thing called as customer gateway. So by configuring this customer gateway with any VPN device which we have, we will be able to establish a secure connectivity between our office premises and the AWS cloud platform. So what happens? Basically, if I have an office, so basically this is my office premises. Okay, from this office, I can basically access the AWS platform via a VPN using a customer gateway and a VPN gateway in the AWS part. Is it clear? Is it clear, team? Neeraj, is clear? If you want to have more detailed thing, I can share you some documents on this which can be very effective for you. You can just ping me personally, okay? No problem. You can just ping me personally, no problem. I'll share. Cool. Okay, that's it, team. So that's about the whole thing, team. So any other queries, team? Any other queries regarding this services, team? Anything else you want to ask me on this AWS Azure team? Certifications I'll discuss, but both any other technical queries you have, team, on the certifications regarding this? Oh, for auditing, see, basically for auditing and everything, okay, basically for auditing and everything, we have a lot of services. Like for example, let's say we have services like AWS Inspector. See this, we have AWS Inspector, AWS Config, AWS CloudTrail. So we have a lot of services in AWS which will contain AWS Cloud was a monitoring tool, CloudTrail is a logging tool. Like I'll show you a simple tool, very simple tool. We have a tool called as AWS Trusted Advisor. Okay. This is nothing which we have to configure. This everything is pre-configured in this tool. We have a tool called as AWS Trusted Advisor. The speed can vary, person. The speed we can vary according to the type of gateway we're choosing. Yes, I'll show you that. There's no problem. So now what happens? See this. So basically, what happens is, Prakash. So as you can see here, I have a console here. I can have a console here, which will give me the complete or basically they will scan for the security issues, the fault tolerance, everything. They will basically scan for all these things. Okay, we have a service called as Trusted Advisor. This service will basically scan for all these things, and they will give me a report. See this. See this. So they have given me a report that I can download the complete report, but that's what I'm sharing. In some case, a very small one. I can download the very small report here. See this. So this report will show me that if my servers are vulnerable, okay, this report will show me that these servers are, see this. So they are telling me that, okay, we have some security groups. These security groups are basically, okay, I'll show you that. See this. They are telling me that we have some security groups in US East 1 with the name this, with the ID number this, and it is having these port numbers open. That can be a risk. Like see this, we have some 2 servers here. These 2 servers basically have the port number called as 3389 open. It can be vulnerable. So like this, they'll give me a report. Yeah, of course, SSH and RDP and DNS also sometimes. So like this, we have a lot of services which basically help us to basically do the auditing on the cloud platform. Especially I have found this AWS Detective, AWS Guard Duty, AWS Inspector, CloudWatch, CloudTrail Config, and this Trusted Advisor very effective for all these auditing purposes. Okay, that's it. So what is the next question? Yeah, auto scaling. So basically in AWS also, okay, in AWS also what we have is, so this feature called as auto scaling. Okay, this feature called as auto scaling. Let's say, for example, I am creating an instance in AWS. Okay, just an example I'm showing you. I am creating an instance in AWS, or I have an instance in AWS EC2. See this. So see this, you can see that I have an instance here. So this particular instance, okay, is running in Mumbai now. So what happens is, I can use this particular instance, okay, I can configure auto scaling on this so that, let's say for example, whenever my CPU utilization, I'll give an example. Whenever my CPU utilization is going above 80%, example, I can set the rule like this. I can make my monitoring tool, I repeat, I can make my monitoring tool called as CloudWatch to continuously monitor the server. And if the CPU utilization is going above 80% for, let's say, 5 minutes, they will add one more server like this. Again, they will add one more server like this. So basically, they can do scaling based on the CPU utilization, network utilization, disk utilization, etc. Is it clear? We can configure it from here. See this, we can configure it from here, auto scaling group. See this? Yes, CloudWatch is something like Nagios, but Nagios is a bit more not specific to the platform actually, that's why. Okay. So that's the team. Anything else? Any other queries, team? Any other queries you have on this? Okay. Others? Any queries, team? All of you? Parna, Piyush, Rahul, Ravi. Anyone? Okay. Perfect. Okay. Cool. So that's the team. That's about the basics of cloud platform. See, it's very easy for you to learn once you start from any platform. Like for example, let's say AWS or Azure, you can just start with this. And once you start, this platform will be very easy for you. Okay. So now, let me show you some information about how we can basically learn cloud computing. Okay. So basically, I'm focusing on AWS and Azure. Okay. On this career path. So basically, how can we build a career in cloud computing? Okay. So basically, some years back, what happened was, okay, when you, as we this, I think I just already told you this is the same thing. So what happens is, when we talk about this word called as cloud computing, okay, talk about this word called as cloud computing. Previously, there was only one role, AWS, or let's say cloud architect, or let's say cloud engineer, something like that. These are the roles which were there. But after that, as we discussed, cloud is now able to provide you a lot more services. See this, cloud is basically now able to provide you a lot of services. Like for example, starting from the normal servers and storage to advanced quantum computing, managing the blockchain data, or let's say managing the media services, IoT services. So basically, they are giving you a huge number of options now. So what happens? Almost some 80% of the business worldwide now rely on some kind of cloud computing services. Okay, that is why we have a lot of roles also in cloud. Like for example, let's say we have a lot of roles, but one thing you have to keep in mind, it's based on the company size. Let's say for example, we have a small company. When we have a small company, we may have only one person for managing all this. So as the company size increases, this particular cloud computing job role is split up into multiple profiles. Like for example, cloud developer, cloud architect level 1, level 2, level 3, cloud consultant, cloud SME, like cloud security specialist, cloud like application deployment expert, cloud application architect, or let's say cloud data expert, GRC and compliance, or GRC expert. Basically, we have a lot of job roles. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's start with a job role, okay, called as cloud architect. I want to be basically what takes it to be a cloud architect. You can tell your queries also. Okay, so basically, if I want to be a cloud architect, okay, I'm assuming that you have some experience in IT. Like for example, it can be or not, but if you don't have an experience that you can ping me personally. I'll share you some great tips for that. So basically, before I start any or discussing on this cloud career, one thing I want to tell you on this team, do not think like, okay, for cloud computing, you need to have a mandatory experience. Okay, I'll tell you why. This is the reason I'll tell you why. See, I won't tell you this before I start with this journey. Just give me a second. Hope this first line will give you the answer for my question. See this. Getting a certification is just like getting a driving license, but that doesn't mean that you're an expert driver, right? So certification is good. Okay. Having less experience or zero experience is also okay. Now, some years back, what happened, I have seen that a lot of companies in India and outside, basically they focus more on certifications, or let's say they focus more on just the experience or something. But now what happens is they have some requirements. If you are good in that requirements, if you are able to manage the requirements effectively, most companies don't concern about the experience, or most companies don't concern about the, the hundreds of certifications you have. So basically for being a cloud architect, okay, these are the optimal things which I suggest. Okay, you can correct me if I'm wrong, or if you feel like anything else you can add with it. Okay, the first thing, learn multiple cloud platforms. Focus on a specific one and get some knowledge in the other platforms. The first thing, I'll tell you which course you have to focus. Basically, the first thing is basically if you want to be a cloud architect, okay, the first thing is you must be specialized, or you must be good in one cloud platform. It can be AWS or Azure or Google or Oracle or anything. Learn a cloud platform. That's the first thing. Okay. And make sure you basically go through the other cloud service providers also. So why do you basically go for the other cloud service providers also? Why? Because basically if you don't go for the other cloud service providers, next time when the requirement comes, you'll not be able to know how we can deploy that in the Azure also. So the next one is have a background where you can understand your company, or let's say customer requirements. Like for example, let's say I'm a consultant for worldwide. So basically when my customer tell me a requirement like some servers or something like that, I must be able to understand my customer requirements very clearly. Okay. The third thing is, okay, get some really good hands-on. So this is the thing which will take base for being a level 1 or level 2 cloud architect. First thing, okay, level 1 or level 2 cloud architect. But a few more things I want to add with this. Basically, Linux knowledge, or let's say, or Linux fundamentals if possible. Linux networking fundamentals. So these are things which is required to start your journey as a cloud architect. So basically, which all certification can help you with this. So basically for all these things, these are the certification which is very common in the market. The first one is you can basically go for a certification called as, which is the most hottest one in the market for being a cloud architect, AWS certified, and we have a lot more things, solutions architect associate. Okay, this is certification in AWS, which will basically help you to learn AWS topics and services in depth, basically. The second thing is you can basically go for certification like Azure Cloud Administrator, which we call as Azure 104, and Azure Cloud Architect. Yeah, sure, that we'll discuss. Security we'll discuss though. Okay, this is AZ 300. So basically, like I think Google also having something like this. So, or let's say you can go for OCI Administrator certification, Oracle Cloud. So like this, you can basically go for a certification like this. But what I felt is basically if you are good in this particular thing, you can learn this thing very effectively, no problem. Okay, that's it. So this is how basically I can start with the cloud. But a few more things you have to understand. Learning the cloud platform is important. Get some really good hands-on. That's very important. Okay, that's very important. Familiar with design diagrams. So basically the personal things we can basically have one-to-one call, no problem. We can have one-to-one call on this, no problem. Okay. I can give you more effective things. And team, if team, before you leave, make sure you fill the feedback form. We can give you more, like then only you'll get the certificate from Infosec Train or attendance of certificate of attendance. So I'll share you this link now. Please wait. Please wait. I'll share the feedback link. Please use this feedback link, all of you. This feedback link you can fill this feedback link before you leave. Okay, don't forget. Okay, that's it, team. So understand that. Okay, understand that for being a cloud architect, a lot of companies basically ask you with a lot of requirements. But the primary thing is basically if you want to be a cloud architect, the primary thing is you have to start with some kind of cloud platform, like having some knowledge in a particular cloud platform. It can be for AWS or Azure or Google or anything. Okay. The next thing is have some basic knowledge, at least some basic knowledge in the other cloud platforms also. Like for example, let's say Azure or Google or let's say some other cloud. If you have some multi-cloud platform knowledge, it can basically increase your profile quality. Okay, that's it. The second one is basically you must see. I'll show an example for a design diagram. You must be able to understand the design diagrams. Like for example, this is an example for a design diagram. Please wait. So this is an example for a design diagram. See this? You must be able to understand these kind of design diagrams and you must be able to create this design. But creating is fine. You can start with basic diagrams, but these kind of diagrams must be very important. See, you must be able to understand this. So I'll tell you an example here. So basically I have some two web servers here, 1 and 2, which is having load balancing enabled, which is having auto scaling enabled and 2 different zones. I have some backend application servers here, basically in the same day, and I have some backend database servers here, all the log files stored in Amazon S3. We have a DNS server here, we have a CDN here, we have a load balancer here, we have a private load balancer here. So like this, you must be able to understand, okay, you must be able to understand all these things very effectively. So learning some design diagrams is very important. Okay, you must be familiarized with some kind of design diagrams. Okay, that's the next thing. The next thing is once you have this design diagrams and or once you're able to identify those design diagrams effectively, what happens is the next one is we can basically go to something like having some Linux knowledge. This is optional, but this can help you a lot. Okay, having some very basic Linux knowledge and networking fundamentals is very simple. It can help you a lot. But this is basically for a cloud architect in level 1 or sometimes level 2. But basically as your level increases, the requirement also will increase. Okay, so this is the basics for being a cloud architect. Any queries, team, on cloud architect? Any queries you have on this? Anything? Like the requirement can change, but this is where you have to start. Okay, this is where you have to start. But basically, if you settle with this only, like for example, once you're basically onto a cloud platform, basically onto a job profile, you can continue the journey with the same certification in a professional level. We have a AWS certified solution, like a professional certification in the market, which is more advanced, very much advanced when compared to the associate level. You can basically take that also. Okay. After this, once you get into profile on this, you can basically go for a professional level certification. Or in Azure also, you can basically complete AZ 301 also. Sorry. Okay. This is something which is required for you to basically pass for being a cloud architect. Okay. Any queries, team? Any queries you have on this team? Anything? Tell me. Any queries?
So on the career path,
They want to log over the
Hello.
Hello? Yeah, just tell me.
Yeah. On the career path, which
Okay.
of the cloud platforms do you think will be the best if you are to get the certification?
Which are the cloud platforms? I'm getting a lot of noise, Joseph. I'm not able to hear you. Can you please type the question?
I said,
please.
the question
Yeah.
is, so with the two platforms, AWS
I'm not able to hear you
and
properly.
Azure.
Can you please type the question? Please type the question, please.
Hello.
Yeah, please mute and please type your question. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, Satindra, what happens is basically, yeah, no. I don't basically suggest you go for the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner. I don't suggest. Okay, it's basically a very fundamental certification, and basically it will not give you much value. Team, we have a certification before this called as AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner, but basically that certification I don't prefer because it's very basic and it will not give you any value. So basically, don't waste your time by going for this certification called as AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner. Like if you are a project manager, I want to be aware of AWS to lead my team. In that case, you can go for it. But in the other way, there is no point you go for it. Okay, that's it. I don't basically prefer that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What is the next one? Okay, I got it. The pay scale can vary, but still, I have seen that now if you're a cloud architect who is really good in some multiple platforms, okay, multiple cloud platforms, and basically if you're really familiar, it's not like, okay, you have to learn everything. But I'll tell you, for this, if you have certifications, so if you have at least an active certification, plus if you have at least 1 year experience, proven experience, we can say. Proven experience means like you have been working in a project which is having this very much in the cloud. Okay, if you have these things, okay, the job profile can give you like it can give you a very decent salary, like it can give you more than 1 lakh per month approximate example I'm giving. Okay, the profile can vary, the profile and the revenue can vary according to the company and everything, but still the starting itself, it can give you a really good salary, definitely. Basically, if you're focusing on the topics in depth. Like for example, I'll tell you my strategy. Okay, I'll tell you what I done in my personal case. So when I started my cloud journey in 2009, I basically started my role as a cloud architect. Okay, so basically when I started my role as a cloud architect, okay, this was things I know previously. I was good in Linux. Okay, I was good in Linux. I was good in Windows Server. I was basically good in networking. I was good in some kind of basic scripting and all. So basically, because I had this knowledge, it helped me a very much lot when I talk about this particular thing. Just give me a second. I'm just getting a lot of queries. Please wait. What is the name? Yeah, combo course. Yeah, I'll tell you this. Don't worry, I'll tell you that. Okay. So I'm heading for those infrastructure and what. So basically, yeah, for cloud journey. Okay. There is the next one. Where is the next one? So basically we have the next job role called as cloud auditor. But cloud auditor is a job role which is very much interested, but it needs experience. Don't forget, it needs experience. So here what happens is from freshers to 10 plus years experienced, people are welcome in this. At the same time, this really needs some experience. Like I'm expecting at least 5 plus years experience you must have to be a good cloud auditor. You must have a thorough knowledge in the governance perspective. Like you need to have, I'll tell you the certifications and all. But basically, there is no, as for now, there is no active certification in the market which can give you a cloud auditor value. That is why, okay, Cloud Security Alliance has basically planning to start a certification this year itself. See this certificate of cloud auditing knowledge. This is a new certification which they are planning. This can give you a start definitely. But this is basically a complete optional thing. I don't know the quality of this. Basically, they're starting it only. Okay. This is basically by Cloud Security Alliance, but this is not started. Okay. As for now, I'll tell you, start with any cloud platform. Okay. Must have multi cloud knowledge. Second thing is good in GRC, governance, risk and compliance. Okay, auditing terminologies like CISA, things like that. It's optional, and having a certification like CCSP or let's say CCSK or CCSP, it can give you more value on this. So basically, there is no predefined certification specifically for cloud auditing. Okay, there is no predefined certification for cloud auditing, but definitely it's very interesting if you have a very good knowledge in this. If you have passed your CISA certification, or basically if you have a good knowledge in this governance, risk and compliance, risk management, or let's say incident management. If you have some 5 to 7 years of basic incident management or exposure to this corporate scenarios on this risk management, incident management, and everything, and auditing. And you must have multiple cloud platform knowledge, cloud provider certifications, business requirements. So if you basically must have a knowledge in all this, definitely this cloud, you can be a cloud auditor. But definitely it's need an experience for at least more than 5 years, I can say. But it's definitely more than 5. Okay, this is my whole thing over it. So the next one is yeah, definitely yes. If you have a background in system administration or basically a background in operating systems, or let's say VPC, or let's say networking and everything, it can basically help you learn this cloud platform very easily. Okay, the next one is, which is the firms in cloud audits. We have BSI, we have this ISO is there, or let's say we have the AICPA. A lot of things are providing. PUB is there. Yes. Akash, basically being a cloud consultant. Okay, I'll tell you what it takes to being a cloud consultant. I am a specifically cloud security consultant now. I was a cloud consultant basically. So basically when I say the word cloud consultant, okay, there's no specific certification for being a cloud consultant, but you must have the knowledge of a lot of things. You must know DevOps, you must know good in security, you must be good in architecting. You must have a lot of things if you basically want to be a cloud consultant. See, a consultant means if anything comes to me for a cloud requirement, basically if there is a cloud scenario, anything comes to me, they will reach out to me. So I must be good in all these things, right? So should I? Yeah, Prakash. Yeah, that's a very important thing. Basically, let's say for example, so Prakash is asking me a question that he's basically CISA and CISM, and is it better for him to go for AWS Solutions Architect or go for CCSP? So basically, I suggest CCSP very much more than CCSK. Point number 1. Point number 2 is basically when you basically want to be a cloud architect, if you have less than a 6 years experience, I can say, in IT, okay, if you have less than 6 years experience, or if you don't have any cloud knowledge, okay, in this case, if you don't have these things, you have to go for AWS or Azure certifications first. Then you can go for CCSK or CCSP. Okay, got it? Yeah, CISM and all we'll discuss. But CISM can help you a lot. CISA or CISM, I can just like it as CISM. Fine. Next one is, yeah, I'll tell you how it can be a cloud security people. Okay, so basically that's my role, basically team. So we can cloud security architect. So my course are basically I'm focusing on these things, or cloud security architect, cloud security consultant, or we can say cloud security specialist. So we have a lot of job roles like this. So I'll tell you how this job roles can help you. So for these things, I'll tell you. mandatory knowledge. Okay, you must have a mandatory knowledge of at least 2 cloud platforms. That's mandatory. Okay, this is the best thing. So basically, as we discussed in depth on one platform and just a wave knowledge on the other platform. That's fine. Okay. The second one, if you want to be a complete cloud security architect, you must have at least, or let's say, some security background can help. Like for example, if you basically have a security background, like for example, if you're from the security auditing background, or let's say security operations background, or let's say if you have a CEH, LPT or something like that. So basically, if you have a security background, okay, is definitely that's suggested. This is very important. The third thing, must be aware, or let's say you must be updated. Fourth one is this is very important, okay. Active certifications. Like for example, starting from a cloud provider certificate like AWS Security Specialty, it's basically AWS Certified Security Specialty, or let's say Azure Security Administrator, okay. Or let's say something like that, or Google Certified Cloud Security Architect, something like that. And plus you can have a CCSP or can have a CISSP. So all these things can help you a lot. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you the work. Yeah, definitely. So basically you must have all these things. Tell me.
This AWS certified security and Azure security. How long do you think we need to prepare ourselves if we have to study and get there?
You're talking about self-study, or you're talking about going for a place and study that?
Both together. Like if I'm going to take the course, how long will it take? And how much effort should I put from my side every day to pass the certification?
See, I have 2 people basically pass the exam today itself on this AWS Certified Security Specialty. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you how. So basically, I have seen that. I'll tell you about my combo course on this. So basically, I have seen that when people talk to me about this AWS Security Specialty certification, they are telling that, Krish, basically when I go to everywhere, they are giving us this course in 20 hours or 15 hours. But what makes it for 50 hours for you totally? So basically the thing I'm taking is basically 50 hours. Why? Because if you want to pass the exam, I'll tell you, if you just want to pass the exam, it's a piece of cake. It's a piece of cake. It's very simple. Just go through some random dumps or random questions in the market, a few textbooks, a few reference guides. 100% you will be able to pass the exam. But this point you never forget. This will not give you any value. Okay, that's the first point. The second thing is, okay, so what I do is, I'll tell you what I'm doing. Okay, so basically people come to me and say, Krish, I want to build my career in AWS security, or I want to be an AWS security expert. In that case, what I'll do is I design a combo for it. So basically what happens in the combo is I'm focusing, I can say I focus 100% on the AWS Certified Security Specialty certification. But basically, if you want to study for the AWS Certified Security Specialty certification, you must have some knowledge. Like for example, you must have some knowledge. Like for example, up to from 50-60% topics. Okay, topics from the AWS architect level. So these topics is mandatory. You must have some knowledge in some specific topic, at least some 50-60% topics in the AWS architect level things if you want to basically get your hands on this AWS certified security specialty. That's why I made a combo which I focus on the certification. I will start from the very cloud basics, going through the topics and everything in the hands-on perspective in the AWS certified solutions architect thing, and I focus 100% on the security specialty. And by the end, I want to make sure once, see, this is what happens. So my students, I will tell you how it works. So let's say my training is up 50 to 55 hours. Sometimes it's extended because I focus in the lab. Okay. So also training plus 2 to 3 weeks maximum of preparation. When I say 2 to 3 weeks of preparation, it's not like, okay, you basically go endless, like you have to go work some 10 hours a day, not like that. Just 2 to 3 hours a day. Approx 2 to 3 hours per day. Okay. Then exam. So basically, this is what it takes for the exam, nothing more. Totally within 1.5 months, you will be able to pass the exam for sure. But at the same time, this course is not exam. Definitely you can pass. I guarantee that you definitely, if you study as per my standards, you can pass the exam without any hassle. But at the same time, this training I'm focusing is not for the exam. It's for the complete hands-on. Like for example, if you don't have a very good hands-on on all the security things, including the identity access management, role management, or let's say the incident response and everything, if you don't have all these things in a hands-on perspective, there is no way you can work in AWS. So basically in this course, almost some 80 to 90% such things is basically focusing on the hands-on things. And definitely if you're good in the hands-on, then why do you worry about the, why do you want to worry about the exam? Definitely you have the hands-on, the concepts, you can do it very, very well, right? That's it. SDN is a different concept. Basically in AWS, SDN or any other things are already done. Like for example, it's already taken care of the cloud service provider. Then why do you want to take care of that?
What about Azure certification?
Can I take clear? Okay. Yeah. Let's say for example, if you basically want to go for the Azure certification, okay, this is what I am planning for next month. Basically, I'm getting a lot of queries on the Azure. So I'm also having Azure Combo where this is what I am focusing on, which will cover the Azure Cloud Administrator certification, which is the AZ 104 plus Azure Security Architect or like Security Administrator AZ 500. So basically, once you do this thing, okay, it's basically a 40 hours actually. I'm trying to make it 50 hours actually. Now it's as for now 40 hours, 45 hours it will take. So this particular certification, if you basically want to focus, you'll be able to write these exams. Okay, you'll be able to write these exams: AZ 900, AZ 104, AZ 500. These exams you can write. Plus, in this course, we are focusing on completely on the Azure security level. Like for example, see, you can directly go for this or directly go for this, no problem. But what is it if we combine this together, it can give you more effective, like more clarity on the things you're doing in the real time. That's why I just combined this. Okay, that's it. Clear? Any queries on this? Yeah, definitely yes. Yes, Srinivas. What happens is basically I'll go through some very basics, like for example, but in the AWS level or Azure level, that's all. Because we have only, let's say if I have 50 or 55 hours, we have to focus a lot on the topics, right? That's why we don't have much time to waste also. Okay, I have CH. Okay, you can basically go for this AWS Azure, no problem, Adi, no problem. You can basically go for any of this. But it's based on your experience level actually. Let's discuss that offline. If you want to have a personal thing, you can basically fix a time with me and we can have a call, no problem. Okay, I'm happy to basically support you on that. It's not like, okay, you have to do a course for everything. Okay. Akash, my favorite platform is always AWS only. Why? Because I'm an AWS guy from the very starting. From 2009 onwards, I'm an AWS guy, and only because I'm an AWS guy, I got a lot of opportunities really a lot of opportunity. That's why. And I was able to learn all the other things without any hassle just because I know AWS. I'm so obsessed with this actually.
Nikesh, one question.
Tell me now.
Like I am a Citrix administrator. I have a background of Citrix with 8+ years of experience. So if I want to move to cloud, so as you said, I can take the course and do the certification. But as you know, the companies demand the experience as well. So how can I get into the company? Even they're taking as a fresh. Even they're taking as a fresher or experience. What is the process?
Okay, I'll tell you that process. That's very simple. So people ask me, Krish, basically, I want to switch my job role in the same company or different company, or I want to move a career in cloud computing. So when you basically want to have a career in cloud computing, I know even I also suffered the same when I started. When you go to a company, they will say that you don't have much experience. But if you can craft it's not faking something. You can do projects in cloud. Basically, you design a scenario in cloud. You do, see, in this course example, I'm saying you're doing almost 80-90% topics you're doing in hands-on. You're doing everything in hands-on perspective. You are well aware of each and every topic. So craft your CV like that. So basically design your CV in a perfect way. And basically, let's say a company is saying the person must have 1 to 2, let's say, or 1 to 3 years experience. You can send your CV with these things you have already done with your current job experience and everything. So basically, definitely they will call you for an interview, right? When they call you for an interview on this, I have seen that almost some 80% people I know was able to crack the interview just because they have a really good practical exposure to this. See, if you learn for a certification, this is what I felt. If you learn for a certification, it can be AWS or Azure or anything. If you learn for a certification only, then it will not give you any value. Like for example, to be honest, it will not give you any value. But certification is a key to enter the company. But still, basically, if you have a hands-on expertise, if you really have a very good hands-on expertise, then it will be more effective for you. And definitely for job roles, which requires 1 to 3 years experience, definitely you can go for the interview and you will be able to 100% crack the thing. It's not about experience. Companies now don't want experience. They say, okay, see now in WhatsApp and everything, or let's say Facebook and everything, I'm seeing a job which is basically circulating for Kubernetes. So for Kubernetes, they are demanding experience of some 9 to 10 years, but it's released only 6 years back. I think most of the people have seen that, right? Like it happens. It's viral actually. This is what happens in the company. I'll tell you what happens in one of my experience. See, some years back, some 12, 13 years back, I got a job JD job requirement, which is basically for a system administrator. So I gone through all the things in the JD. It's like it's a huge JD. They will have some kind of very huge infrastructure. I gone through everything, and when I went to the interview, I understood that they have only less than 20 computers. They have the smallest infrastructure, and they just want to have a person there to sit and watch the monitor, nothing more. Don't worry about the requirements. See, once you have the platform, once you have the background very strong, okay, let's say you are good in this particular security in AWS or security in Azure or architecting, whatever it is. If you're good in that, tomorrow if a requirement comes, you don't have to worry about it. You will be definitely able to upgrade within no time. Even me also doing the same, right? See, when I started in AWS also, you can see that when I started, there were only some 30, 40 services. Now see, they have more than 300 services. I was able to do all this because I was continuously monitoring all these things. Updating is mandatory. But so that what I'm telling you is experience is something which is very important. But if you are able to meet the company's job requirements, then experience won't matter much in most companies basically. This is what I felt. Correct me if I'm wrong. Companies nowadays started demanding that, okay, you must be able to get the skills rather than having 100 years of experience. And no, Akash, you can basically ping me personally on that, no problem. We'll just talk, okay? No problem. On this kind of things, I can basically have one-to-one call, can give you more value. See, I'll tell you. Just think of this thing once, team. Just think of this thing once. So basically, let's say, for example, now, and one more thing basically. See, you say you are a cloud architect or cloud expert. Okay. So let's say you have a AWS knowledge, except that you want to be a consultant, you have a AWS knowledge, something like that. If you have more than 10 years experience, there is no point you basically focus on these things only. Okay, you basically, okay, thank you Satyendra, no problem. Okay, perfect. So basically there is no point you go for AWS certified security specialty or combo only. You have to upgrade your level. Like for example, I'll tell you, let's say for example, if you have more than 10 years experience, okay, the company don't want to have a person who is basically sitting in front of the computer and configuring AWS. You must upgrade your skill. Like for example, going for certifications like CCSP, getting your job role for like a cloud architect or cloud consultant or cloud advisor or cloud security professional, cloud security manager, things like that. Okay, that's it. Anything else, team? Any other queries you have on this, or anything do you want to add with this? Which I said, do you feel the same, or do you think experience only matters? Anything, team? Anything else? Any queries you have on this, team? Tell me anything. Yeah, but still, Pankaj, what I felt. This is what I felt. I don't know basically much, but basically from my experience and from my students' experience for the last of my thousands of students' experience, what I felt is experience matters up to 20 or 30% for the last 5 years. But now what happens is, if you have the real skill set means this is a problem, team. See, you can see that I have a certification called as AWS Certified Cloud Architect. You can see hundreds of people, thousands of people who is having this AWS Certified Cloud Architect or Azure Cloud Administrator. But if the company want to differentiate you on this, definitely you must have a specific skill set. Like I'll tell you, let's say for example, some companies will ask if you want to be a cloud security architect, okay, they will ask you for experience in some kind of SIEM tools, like some monitoring tools, or let's say some kind of VA tools like Nessus, etc. So they will give you some, they will ask you for some are cloud roles all tactical? No, definitely yes. There is four, basically these are all tactical things. Like this, if you have more than some 5+ years experience, you have to focus on the strategic roles. Like for example, you have to be a cloud practice or basically a cloud security professional or cloud security consultant or cloud auditor. That is strategic role. Cloud security manager, cloud manager. So for that you have to do certification like CCSP or let's say CCSK, etc. Okay, that's it. But for basically for that, in this kind of certifications, we are not focusing on the hands-on part. This is where we define the strategy. I'll give an example how it works. Basically, let's say for example, I want to write and pass CCSP. So for CCSP, how it works is, so it's not difficult. I'll tell you how. I'll tell you why. Basically, let's say encryption. I say the word called as encryption and key management. So basically for encryption and key management, if you come for an AWS or Azure course with me, okay, if you basically come to an AWS Azure course with me, I will teach you how to perform key management and encryption on that platform. Practical part, okay. But when you come to me for the CCSP perspective or CCSK perspective, I'll teach you how to make sure the key management is done effectively or can be done effectively. Just give me a second. Okay, how we can basically, as per the business requirements, what are the best practices? Like this, you will study everything in the strategic perspective. How to choose a cloud service provider for that. How to basically talk to the cloud service provider regarding this key management. How to make sure my data is safe. How to make sure my business is meeting the requirements. So all these things are basically in the CCS perspective. In this, you will study the tactical part. Okay? Clear, Neeraj? Okay. So I got one more question here. Yeah. Now I'll go for the certification. Just one more thing, Parna. Just I'll finish this and let me go to the cloud certification. See, we have a lot more roles, but one more role I won't tell you. But basically, I found this role very, very impressive, but a bit tough also. DevOps engineer, or let's say cloud DevOps expert, or let's say DevOps engineer. DevOps expert or cloud, basically cloud DevOps expert, something like that. So basically, in this role, here also it comes with the basic certification like AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate, or let's say AZ 104 or something like that. It's very mandatory for you. After this, it is mandatory that as per the job role you're pursuing, don't forget, as per the job role you're pursuing, okay, it can be a common job role. As per the job role you're pursuing, you have to make sure, okay, you have knowledge in some kind of DevOps. DevOps must be very clear. DevOps concept must be very clear for you. Like for example, how DevOps works, how can be applied in the real time, what is this continuous integration, continuous deployment, continuous integration. All these things you must be able to understand. And after that, tools are mandatory. Like for example, Docker, Git, Jenkins, Ansible, Chef, or let's say Puppet. So like this, we have a lot of tools like this. So you have to basically learn the tools as per your job role you're demanding. You have thousands of DevOps tools. Basically focus on job tools and see how, okay, see how these just give me a second, these tools can be integrated to cloud platform. For that, we have different certification like AWS Certified DevOps Engineer Professional. Let's say AWS Certified DevOps Engineer. In Azure also we have the same, Azure DevOps. So like this, you have to focus on these kind of DevOps certification which is there in the cloud service provider. So basically, if you can basically go for all these things like this, definitely you can be a cloud or DevOps expert in this. Okay, that's it. And strictly change according to the, I cannot tell you personally on this because the suggestions I can give you personally strictly based on your job, your current job role, your current skill set, what all things you want to be, and what is your current job role, what is your areas of interest, like a lot of things, basic current experience, how long you have the experience, basically all of this based on that, I can give you better. Okay. So now I'll give you an idea about the certifications team. Okay. So let's talk about the certifications. Okay. So talking about the certifications, let's say for Azure certifications. Okay. Talking about Azure certifications, we have a lot of Azure certifications in the market, but basically I'll show you that, please wait. And Azure keeps on changing, and that's a problem. Let me show you a picture which can be more easy for you. Please wait, please wait. Or let's make it this way. So basically, the basic certification as we call as AZ 900. Okay, it's a very basic certification. And it's completely optional. Like if you just want to start with cloud computing with zero knowledge, but basically you can do it. But basically, I cover this as a part of my 104 training. Why? Because I don't want people to go for this training and again spend some money on this. See this? It's very easy to pass. We have a certification by Microsoft called as AZ 900. This is a starting level certification called as Azure Fundamentals. It's a completely optional certification. It's a completely optional certification. Okay, this particular certification is basically the cost is different. The cost can vary according to location. Don't forget, basically for India, the cost is very cheap. I have seen in India, the cost is somewhat around, see, 3696 INR only. It's very cheap. But when you go to US, the cost will basically double 3 to 4 times. Okay, so this is the thing. And for this, the exam and the so there's no particular. The exam is 2 hours. I think 2 hours exam. I wrote this exam some years back. Okay, it's 2 hours exam, and basically it's 3 hours actually. The exam is 3 hours, and basically this exam can have 40 to 55 questions. Okay, approximate 40 to 55 questions, but it can always change according to the exam vendor and all. Okay, that's it. Clear? And what we are focusing is basically AZ104. We have a certification called as AZ104, which will basically have the Azure Administrator. The AZ103 is the previous version of it. It's basically expired. We have the latest one as AZ104, the Microsoft Azure Administrator. Okay, by passing this exam called as Azure Administrator, you will be able to, this is the best certification you can start with Azure. If you want to focus on networking or let's say Azure administration, Azure architecting all, this is basically something which you can start, very much interesting. So it will cover everything regarding the storage or the compute servers, virtual machines, and you cannot compare the certification with the AWS Cloud Architect. Why? Because this certification is very easy. Only a very few things you have to study on this, but if you study in a proper way, you will be able to understand it very effectively. Okay, that's it. So after the syllabus, I basically I'll show you the see this is certification list. So you can basically go for, okay, you can base it's the cost is very cheap for Azure 103, also almost the same cost. Let's say if I select India, the cost is very same cheap. See, 4,800 INR plus tax. That's all. And now you can write the exam from home also. And this exam is, as for now, this exam is not having any labs, but it can have any labs anytime. So basically, it is having a set of predefined set of labs. For when I basically wrote my exam on 103, I had some labs. Basically, 3 labs were there. So here also you will be having labs while the exam. Okay, some hands-on things will be there in the exam. So make sure you have a hands-on expertise also. Don't rely on the labs only. Why? Because basically, as for now, because as the COVID pandemic is there, they are stopping the labs. But still, in the normal case, they will be having labs in this. Okay, that's it. See this? That is the Azure Administrator. And the next one is we have something called as Azure AZ500, Azure Security Engineer. Let me show you the certification here. So I have seen that the Azure AZ500 certification and the AZ10 certification is having a lot of things similar. Okay, it's having a lot of things similar. That is why basically I combine this to a single course so you can write both the exams. See this? So the certification, and don't forget in AWS we have a specialty certification. I repeat, in AWS we have a specialty certification for security, but in Azure there is no specialty certification for security. So basically in Azure we have only an associate level certification for security, which is called as a Microsoft Certified Azure Security Engineer Associate. Okay, this is not comparable with the AWS security specialty. In Azure, as for now, there is no specialty certifications for security. We can write this. Okay, the cost also same, 4,800 INR. Okay, that's it, team. Any queries in this, team, till now? Anything? Any queries you have in this? Basic, yeah. For that, for being a senior solutions advisor, okay, you must have a CCSP, you must have a AWS security, or let's say you must CCSP certification, and most preferably CSSP certification is mandatory. Why? Because basically when you are a security advisor, you must be able to have a very good knowledge in the compliance and everything. No, this for basically when you compare with the other certification, AZ104 or AZ500 is the easiest one. Definitely for a fresher, if you want a journey with cloud computing in Azure, you can go for AZ 104 and AZ 500. But basically, if you go for AWS, it's different. For Azure, if you want to start your journey, you can basically go for AZ 104 and AZ 500. That's more than enough. There's no point you go for a lot of certifications. Okay, there's no point you basically go for a lot of certifications. I always suggest you can go for the certification like, you know, start with 104, then more 500. That's more than enough. Okay, two ISO. Okay. Yeah, you can the same thing. So what happens is, but still I want to get more information about your experience. We can have a one-to-one call, no problem. Okay. Basically, I have seen that Azure certification will cost you very less when compared to AWS. Why? Because see, for all the AWS certifications, okay, for all the AWS certifications, cost. For all the associate level certification, the cost is $150, maybe plus tax in some countries. Okay. For all the professional certification, it's $300. For all the specialty certification, the same thing. But for Azure, it can vary. Azure, we cannot say that this must be the cost. Why? Because they will keep on changing it. As for now, what happens is, as for now, basically for India region, Azure certifications for AZ 104 and AZ 500. The cost is almost 4,800 INR plus tax. Clear, team? Anything else? Any other queries you have on this? Feel free to ask me queries. So if you have any queries regarding your career path or something like that, you can ping me personally, no problem. I just ping in WhatsApp us. Let's fix the time because basically I have batches on the clock, Monday to Sunday actually. That we can discuss personally, no problem. You can ping me personally on that. I'm to my team. Okay, that's it. Anything else, team? Any other queries you have? Anything else? Any queries? Please ask your queries, team. Asking queries, anything? Okay. And team, if there is anyone who failed for providing feedback, please make sure if you provide the feedback here. Okay. Edge computing is basically a part of this, but edge computing is a different one. Like for example, edge computing will give you more. It's a different strategy that we'll discuss. Okay. If you basically go for this time, it will take a lot of time. That's fine. We'll focus on that after this. Okay. That's the team. If there is any queries you have, okay. If there is any queries you have, you can ping me personally, no problem. I hope all of you have my number. If there is any constraints, you can ping me. Anything team, any other queries you have, please ask your queries. I'll share my number here in the chat box. Not exactly. If you want, you can basically ping me. I can share, no problem. Ping me personally, I can share. Okay, by Monday I can share. Thanks, Neeraj. And team, it's not about you join a course or not, but yeah, I'll share. Course.com. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Anything else, team? Any other queries you have, team? Okay. Hope all of you have provided the feedback. Thanks, team. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. Please make sure you fill the feedback. You will get the certificate and everything from InfoSec. Thank you, team. Sure, there's no problem. Happy with that. No problem. We can ping, no problem. Okay, perfect. Bye, Sudha. Bye, Indra. Thanks, Akash. Catch with you tomorrow. Just ping me personally, no problem, okay? Thanks, Mohammed. Thank you. You can ping me, Saurabh. You can bring me on WhatsApp, and we can fix the time and talk. Okay, no problem. Thank you, team. Bye.